Welcome to episode 012 of the Bit Beacon broadcast. We've pre-titled this episode Sights and Smells of the TGAs.
That's right.
TGAs being short for...
The Game Awards.
Yes. It'll be a big topic today. I just want to mention it's December 13th, 2023. And let's jump into what have we been playing, what have we been buying. You go first.
Okay, so the only thing I've really been playing, aside from a lot of Pokemon Home Organization, because I had a bunch of stuff imported from Pokemon Go and other games and stuff, I needed to really...
Yeah, have you ever looked at your playtime for Pokemon Home?
I haven't.
Okay, yeah, go to your Nintendo Switch profile and you'll probably be shocked at how many hours...
I can't imagine.
Like, you've probably spent more hours in Pokemon Home than you've spent in, some Pokemon
like
games.
1,000 hours. It's crazy. I spend so much time. Because when you have all your additional shinies, like your extra shinies that you need to go line up in those boxes,
right? And
then, your new shinies that you need to put in your collection, yeah, you spend a lot of time. You also spend a lot of time going through, like I do at least, with a notepad writing down everything I need. And
yeah, I have a digital notepad where I keep log of almost like I can make it into a checklist, so I can hit the little check mark in Google Keep whenever I get a new shiny
That's a good idea. I'm still into using physical notepads.
I mean, no, I like, writing down, pen and paper. That feels good.
It does, yeah. But yeah, it would be more useful.
Because then when you're out and about, and you get that new shiny, you can just check it off immediately.
True. Yeah, I should do it on my phone, you're right. But yeah, spending a lot of time in Pokemon Home. Aside from that, I put in a good... probably close to 6 hours of Honkai Star Rail.
Nice to see you picking that back up after I shamed you last week.
No, it wasn't because of that.
Oh, no, it wasn't? Oh, okay.
No.
You did that of your own volition?
I did. I was sitting on the couch and just decided to flip it on.
Yeah.
So I beat the Doomsday Beast.
So that was like the big boss that has like multiple phases, right?
Yeah.
It has like 2 or 3 HP bars.
Yeah. So you have to fight his left hand, right hand, and his head, and then he regenerates, and you do it again.
But he's got like new abilities after. He'll start like, does he like capture some people on your team and like lock them down or something like that?
I didn't see him do that, but I might have been.
You might be thinking of a different boss.
I probably grinded pretty hard. And leveled up to the point where he didn't get to play all his animation.
Okay, that's fair. It is like the intro. It's like the big boss of the tutorial, effectively.
I wouldn't call the whole space station a tutorial, necessarily. Maybe.
I mean, at that point, if you haven't yet quite boarded and gone to the first planet, you're still basically in the tutorial.
It's got to be one of gaming history's longest tutorials, then.
There's a lot of systems to be introduced to in the game.
I've put like 20 hours into this and I'm still on board the space station.
So and your world is about to be opened dramatically when you...
I can't imagine.
You go to the first world. It's still very... It's not like you're going into an open world game. Mm-hmm. It's still like individual environments that are linked between like loading screens. Okay. So it's kind of more of a kind of old school, more traditional RPG vibe to it.
Which is good because it... follows the theme of the turn-based battle system and
it breaks it down into like areas, and you can easily like keep track of like all the hidden collectibles in the individual areas. You can see like, oh, I've got 6 of 8 treasure chests in this area, things like that. So
there's a lot of I don't know, you tell me if this is a thing in the future of the game.
Okay.
But on the space station, at least I've noticed that there are enemies that are way more powerful than you. That have, big treasure chests behind them.
Right, so you have to defeat that enemy in order to gain access to that treasure chest.
But are you exposed to enemies far beyond your capacity a lot in the game?
Have you tried fighting them?
I have, and beat them.
Okay, yeah. So every new area you go to is likely to have at least one, if not 2, of these sort of high level, more challenging battles that have like a treasure chest locked behind, defeating them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you will continue to see that as you play through the game.
Okay.
And eventually you'll be at the level cap.
Okay.
I think the level
it's
cap
20, I believe.
Well,
they increase that then.
Yeah, so it actually goes all the way to 80, but you have to like get certain materials to increase the character's level cap. So after you hit 20, you can unlock their level cap to go up to 40, and then like 50, and then like 60, and then set or something like that.
I gotcha. Do light cones do that too? Or
yes,
they do. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, and because I think of your trailblazer level, you might be restricted from ascending or whatever it is the terminology they use for this game.
Gotcha.
But yeah, as you level up your trailblazer level, you'll be able to. Yeah, I think they do that on purpose so you don't end up like doing something that's too challenging for you, like too fast.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. That makes sense. That also is reminiscent of some old JRPGs and stuff.
You are gonna start getting into it kind of gets start to get a little more grindy the higher your character levels go, because like to level up their skills and talents and things, you'll need like materials that you get from these sort of like repeatable things where you use your energy that you have access to. Have you like noticed that you have like this thing, it's like 240 out of 240 energy? Maybe it hasn't even introduced that to you yet.
Maybe not.
Yeah, I don't think you actually get introduced to that concept until
you leave.
Until you go to the first. Hence, you're still in the tutorial.
I guess. Okay. Well, I mean, like a lot of games have tutorials throughout the whole game.
Oh yeah, there's definitely always new tutorials popping up, especially as they introduce new mechanics and things to the game.
Right.
Yeah, like it's a core functionality of the game, using your energy and that capacity to farm materials and increase the level cap of your characters and increase their ability levels as well.
Gotcha. Either way, I'm liking it. I'm still struggling with some of the gacha stuff, mechanics, and just the fact that you're always online. There were a couple times, even in my last, play session, where the server got disconnected. Right after a battle and server error.
Were you up super late or something?
Yeah.
Maybe the daily reset happened or something like that.
Something that wouldn't happen on a physical game.
Sure.
And that's...
Because in all my years playing Genshin and now the past year playing Star Rail, I've never been disconnected unless my internet went down.
Right.
But
no, this was a server thing. It said specifically.
Oh, like a message came out said like server's gonna come down or something.
No, it just said server error. Please reload.
Oh,
something like that. Like,
well, after we finish the podcast, since you brought your portal with you, I feel like maybe you can log into your account and maybe I can give you some pointers, some tips on how you can best optimize your your Honkai Star Rail experience.
My all my Stellar Jade and all that.
Yeah, and like your characters, I can maybe recommend like what some good team compositions are.
Sure, yeah, we can do that.
And I'm guessing that's the extent of what you've been playing.
Oh, well, I could also say that I've been playing Teal Mask a little bit.
Oh, okay.
A little bit. I didn't put a lot of time in, but I did finally encounter that what's it called? The Mochi Pokemon? What's it called?
The Macho Pokemon, yeah. Sinistea? Or no, Sinistcha.
Sinistcha, yeah, that's
and then Poltergeist.
Poltergeist.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got the two counterfeit ones.
Of course.
But, is that it? Is that like the only place it appears in that one little ravine thing?
Anywhere where you see like these sort of bamboo areas, that's where you're going to find them.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So there's a handful of those scattered, I think primarily on the eastern side of the map.
Yeah.
Where you're going to see them mostly.
That's where I'm at right now. What happens... Okay, first of all, when can I go back to Paldea?
I think at any time.
At any time?
Yeah.
I just go back to the bus stop in the beginning?
No, you just go to your map, and I think you can just toggle between...
Like fly there?
Essentially, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And then... Shoot, I had another question. Oh yeah, does anything happen to Paldea after I beat Teal Mask? Like, do Pokemon from Teal Mask start showing up in Paldea or anything like
No,
that? Oh,
no.
okay.
I think if there's going to be any like big consequential things, it's going to come from the second DLC, which is actually launching tonight.
Right.
And I'm eager to play a little bit of that before
Yeah.
I have to go to bed and work tomorrow.
Um,
But yes, that's what I've been waiting for. I haven't really been playing anything too new because I've been waiting for this DLC. But did you have another question about?
no, that's it.
No. So yeah, I've just been keeping up with. It's been a busy week, I would say, for myself personally. You too, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, it's that time of year.
December. Like I've gone on ad nauseum, but something on the calendar seemingly every day in December.
Yeah,
and it's
that's just how it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I haven't started any new games since I finished Final Fantasy 2. And I've just been kind of biding my time for the Pokemon DLC tonight. I did have a couple orders come in for some games that I picked up around Black Friday sales and deals. And
Let me ask you real quick
Yeah.
though, because Square Enix shadow dropped the DLC for 16, right?
They did.
The Game Awards.
yes, they dropped the first of 2 DLCs.
Right.
Yeah.
So have you played that yet?
No, I haven't. I haven't bought it yet.
Okay.
I
Oh.
figure I'll just wait till the second DLC's out and I'll just do both at the
Both.
same time
Gotcha.
rather
Okay.
than like have to relearn the game twice.
Right.
You know, in between months off and away from it.
Right.
I'd rather just kind of go back to it and wrap my brain around it one time and just get through everything. I am very excited about that. And especially the first DLC seems to be sort of like almost like a little side dungeon with some cool new bosses. I've heard like a very, very cool new final boss in that area. But the second DLC looks like it's going to be really meaty, introduce a whole new area, a whole new icon that you can get the summon for, and people are theorizing that
Do you know who it is?
the trailer talked about it, but
Okay.
so anyways, in the base game of Final Fantasy 16, I'm trying to think of a way.
I hope it's Carbuncle.
I'm trying to think of a way where I'm not spoiling things too much, but basically because there's going to be a whole new icon for Clive to absorb their power, he will be complete. So in the base game, when you first play it, because he's missing this summon that he didn't never this icon that he never absorbed, I will call the main antagonist of the game basically isn't able to make use of Clive as he had hoped he would be able to because he's sort of incomplete. And so now people are theorizing that this DLC, if you complete this DLC and then go back and do the final boss, that it will essentially unlock a whole new ending of the game, which is probably correct, and that sounds crazy.
Right. Yeah.
So like the first is like, oh, they're just like introducing this little expansion that happens sometime in the game that you just didn't do it prior for whatever reason. But now it's like, oh wow, there could be a whole new ending. And because I will say 16 ends pretty definitively. Like it doesn't really leave room for much of a sequel or a continued dive into this world. I mean,
this could be a whole new way to incentivize New Game Plus.
I mean, there already is New Game Plus, but even more so.
Like an iteration on the concept of New Game Plus.
So I'm pretty excited for the thought of this new DLC, especially if it has like major story implication and essentially changes the ending from what it originally was. Because the game has a great ending, but it's like very final. Like it's like there's not much coming back from what happened, so to say. But now
they will make you play it again.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
I'll go to that final boss battle again and discover a whole new ending or whatever.
Totally change your tune from previously.
Because I would love to. I mean, I don't know if they're gonna make a 16-2 or whatever they'll do next, but like if it leaves it open for something like that, I would be so down to go back.
That's every Final Fantasy, man.
It's only happened a couple times.
That's how I felt about 10. Well, 10, 12, You could say 7 for sure.
Yeah, 7's gotten a new lease on life. Multiple times.
Yeah, I'm not even talking about the remake. I'm talking about like just
all
7.
Everything.
But yeah, I think that's it. I think it's just those 3 installments.
Well, 12? No, 13. Lightning.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Lightning
13.
got 3 games.
Yeah, you're right.
Which is crazy.
13 got 3.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and like not even the most well-liked entry, but she kept getting games.
I didn't spend a lot of time with 13.
Yeah, me either. It's something I do want to revisit.
It looked amazing.
We played it at PAX in 2011. Or maybe that was 13 too.
I remember walking up like a mountain trail and looking off in the distance and seeing just how high resolution the textures were, especially on PS3.
But that game was very linear. You were literally just walking along. Like a beautiful environment details, but like not somewhere you could actually go and explore so much.
That's how it was.
That's how it was then.
Yeah. All the way up until...
That's why games like Skyrim at that time period like blew people's minds. It was like you're off the rails now, you know, and you really do have like a 40 by 40 mile radius to explore, you know.
I want to say 15 is the first single player Final Fantasy that was truly like open.
15 for Final Fantasy, I mean, you could argue the early Final Fantasies are open world.
Yeah, but there are places you can't go and start until...
That's true. Yeah, like you're like until you get a ship or an airship, you're somewhat restricted. Right. But you can definitely get lost in those games, especially once you get like a ship. You can end up in places you're not supposed to be yet.
But with like open side quests and stuff, and you know, you get just inundated with 20 side quests in your log and stuff.
Yeah,
that I think 15 is the one that started that. At least for a single player. Probably Final Fantasy 11 started it if you want to get multiplayer.
Okay, true. We've gone a little off topic, but that's okay. I love talking about Final Fantasy.
You brought up Final Fantasy.
I know, and that's never a good idea around
your fault.
So real quick, I won't dive too deep into these, but I picked up 2 games over Black Friday that just more recently showed up. I've got Shimigami Tensei Strange Journey Redo. Do you say Redo or do you say Redux?
I say Redux.
You say Redux, okay. I think they're technically both correct. But Redo kind of sounds lame.
It does, because there's an English word called redo that means something slightly different.
Right. This Video Games Plus, have you ever heard of them? They're a Canadian retailer, and they specialize in doing like reprints of games. And they can't reprint 3DS games anymore or work with the publishers to reprint 3DS games anymore. They had a selection of a lot of Shin Megami Tensei like 3DS games that are like really hard to find and really expensive now. And they were selling them for like MSRP prices.
Strange Journey was like a really weird spin-off. I think it was like a third-person shooter or something like that.
Doesn't look like a third-person shooter.
It was something out. Well, let me see it.
It looks like Shin Megami Tensei.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. Was that on original DS?
I want to say this was like a Saturn game or something like that originally. I could very well be wrong.
I remember one on DS that was like a robot, and I swear it was Strange Journey. It had like a robot-looking thing on the cover.
But in addition to this, they were selling stuff like the overclocked 1 and 2 games for 3DS. Okay. The tactical Shin Megami Tensei games. I decided just to grab this one. Mainly because it's got the original like Shin Megami Tensei artist. I love this cover artwork here. And it seemed like a more traditional one and something I might actually want to get around to playing.
Real quick, Devil Survivor and Devil Survivor Overclocked are tactical RPGs.
Right, they were DS originally, and then they ported them and made like overclocked versions for 3DS. They called them.
So it was Devil Survivor. And then Devil Survivor Overclocked was a port with an additional chapter.
Yes.
And I beat that one.
And there was Devil Survivor 2 as well. And then that also got like, I don't know if they called it overclocked, but they called it something similar.
It got a similar treatment.
Exactly. And then I picked up Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3 for Switch, which I previously already owned physically. Now, this physical only released in Asia, or Asia territories. And the copy I picked up years ago for Nintendo Switch was like the Chinese copy.
Okay.
So while the cartridge had like an English logo on the artwork, the exterior artwork was all in Chinese. And now I saw that they had at some point put out a English version of the cover, and the spine and the descriptions on the back are all in English. And I was like, you know what? I want this one for my collection. So I did pick this up. So now I have this twice, but I'd much prefer having the English
I do that
copy.
when they have like the greatest hits versus the black label.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of games that I have both, so I don't blame you for that.
Yeah, so I got both. It's kind of a frivolous purchase, but if I were to get rid of one, I would get rid of the Chinese one and keep this one. But yeah, I just thought it would look a lot more clean with the rest of my games to have it in.
For sure.
Have it in English.
It's not bad to have both.
No. So yeah, waiting on the DLC for Pokemon tonight. I'm ready to wrap this episode up. Let's call it a day. End transmission. No, I'm kidding.
We're out of here.
Let's talk about what we've been up to. Now we both last week attended the Game Awards, and we're gonna get into that. But we're just gonna talk about a few other things before we get there. Rick in particular has been missing.
Yeah, so
he's got a lot to share with us.
Yeah, so you could say that I've been 3 weeks with not being on the podcast.
Since you recorded,
Since I recorded, because episode 10 was pre-recorded, and then last week Sam filled in, which I want to talk about. Thank you, Sam. Also, like, you did a great job. You were well researched. You knew what you were talking about. You talk a little bit fast when you get into it, but I understand. Like, I have quirks too when I get passionate.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But overall, like, fit to fill in.
Fill in. I'm looking forward to the time you two get to record an episode together.
Might be my favorite episode because because like listening to myself, like that's all stuff I said.
Right.
But listening to someone else's opinion is more entertaining.
Yeah, like I thought it would be. See, that's why I would love for when the opportunity arises. I really hope the two of you sit down and do one because I think I'd be really excited to like hear both of you. Something I had like no involvement in. Yeah. And you guys are just like I'm listening to something I have no idea what's going to happen.
That's how I felt about this, episode 11.
When I'm listening to episodes that you and I are on, like, because I'll re-listen to some of our episodes a couple times over, at least once before we publish it, and then sometimes again after I publish it.
Same.
And I'll be like in my head saying what I'm about to say on the podcast. Yeah. Like I already know like what's about to come out of my mouth.
Yeah. Even though I don't remember what I said, I know what my response is gonna be.
They match up like exactly with what I say on the podcast. That
happens to me too. And then sometimes hearing myself, I'm like, come on, Rick. Like, you should have said this.
That was a missed opportunity. Yeah. So last week you were out due to some external circumstances.
External.
But the previous week, the reason we had to pre-record is because you were out of town.
I was going to Ohio. Findlay, Ohio. Yeah, I get them because I lived in Idaho and went to college for, game design and stuff in Idaho. And I went to Ohio, so in my head,
a lot of hoes.
Man. So Findlay, Ohio, really interesting town. Not what you would expect from a town you've probably never heard of.
They got a brewery?
They have a brewery.
Nice.
Pretty good brewery. I can't, like, in all honesty and sincerity, I can't place them above, like, Stone or Ballast Point, but yeah, really good brewery there, and a couple places that I'm actually took a lot of pictures of. I intend to blog about.
He intends to, everyone.
I am going to blog about them.
Whoa!
It is going to happen.
Okay. It's a commitment.
Yeah, one is a trading card shop that I entered,
yeah,
and it was insane. It was like crazy inside, bigger than like trading card shops here.
Yeah.
Just aisles and aisles and aisles of board games.
What's the population of Finley?
40,000.
Oh, that's
something
bigger
like that.
than you think. Yeah.
And so.
I was gonna say maybe they don't have a lot to do, so
I'm thinking that this is probably the one place.
This is like
that.
This
like,
is where everyone goes.
If you're invested in Magic the Gathering and going to tournaments and that's your life and that's what you do, this is probably the one place that you go, that everyone goes,
right?
Because they are, have their whole Wizards of the Coast. I forgot what the league is called, but they have. I'm
sure
all
they're
that.
An official participant.
They are, yeah. They're official Wizards. I asked the dude at the counter. And they had just like a separate room that was just rows and rows and rows of tables, like a gym. It was crazy.
It's crazy how Magic has just never waned. Magic the Gathering.
No,
like,
it is the mother of trading card games.
Yep.
It invented the trading card game.
I mean, Pokemon cards are big, but not as much for playing, more for collecting, I feel.
Yeah.
I mean, not that there isn't a big
playing
community.
Yeah.
I'm sure that shop probably does Pokemon too.
Oh, yeah. And I purchased Lieutenant Surge's Raichu from Gym Challenge.
Nice.
Just to support the place.
Yeah.
I can't
you
walk
like what they're
in there,
doing.
appreciate the hell out of it, and then buy nothing.
Yeah.
So I did buy that. And I took some pictures. And I talked to the dude behind the counter and just asked him a little bit. Yeah, that was an experience. Then there was this other place that I visited. There was a bar and arcade. Mm-hmm. And I have pictures. I'll put the name on the website. But it was a bar, and then the opposite wall, just like 50 yards of just arcade cabinets. And they had Pac-Man, they had Centipede, they had everything you expect to see. Plus Area 51 and, just a lot of light shooters. Those were all like grouped together. Mm-hmm. And then it was just a lot. And then the second wall, so the wall that the bar is on, adjacent the bar, all pinball machines. And probably like 15 of them.
Damn.
Yeah, they had the Jurassic Park pinball machine. They had the Metallica.
Were they like the newer ones? They're the Stern pinball.
And the newer, this is probably the first time I've experienced modern pinball machines, because arcades are kind of gone. Yeah. And I just don't have access to one.
At Comic-Con, they have this thing called, San Diego Comic-Con, I should say, the OG. They have this thing called the Pinball Lounge. Mm-hmm. And it's all the machines are like provided by that Stern pinball company, and they're all the brand new modern. And some of them are meh. They have some of them are insane. Yeah, insane, like animatronics and stuff.
Yeah, the Jurassic Park one in particular was like that. Like it had the T-Rex that opens its mouth and swallows the ball and spits it out or something. Yeah. And then they had screens that have full 3D animations, like cinematics and stuff. Mm-hmm. There was, I think, the Jurassic Park one where I had to make a choice. Yeah. I hit the ball somewhere and then had to make a choice. What did I want to, go after the virus or go after fossils or whatever. Yeah. It was, just crazy. That's evolutionary of pinball. Yeah.
And you can, they make them, well, maybe not that one in particular, but they make these to sell to people to put in their homes nowadays. Yeah.
While I was playing pinball, I started talking to the guy next to me who was at one of the machines. He started telling me about how he plays not professionally, because there's no career as a pinball player, but
pinball wizards.
He plays competitively. You're right. And he owns 7. Oh wow. And stuff. So people like that show up there.
Yeah. Yeah, they're there to set some high scores, baby.
Oh yeah. And just, play, practice and stuff. Every pinball game is a different experience, even though it's still pinball. The Jurassic Park one is very different from the Metallica one. Yeah. But anyways, really cool places. I look forward to blogging about those.
So you brought your PlayStation Portal with you to Ohio.
I did. And I wanted to experience, because, the system is still pretty new. I wanted to see what it's like to play on Wi-Fi while I'm out of state, like states away from
Your
my
console.
PlayStation 5. Yeah. And worked great. You would think I'm on my couch. You know, while I was in like the house, no issues. I also purchased the Wi-Fi on the plane because I wanted to see what that was
On the
like.
way there or the way back?
On the way there.
Oh, okay.
And do you know have they fixed it yet with the hotel issue?
No, so if your PlayStation Portal has to connect to the internet, it won't connect to things that require you to like agree to terms and conditions.
A network that has a prompt.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that same principle applies to airplanes.
Yeah.
Obviously. So I had to set up a hotspot on my phone and play on my phone. And I played a good 30 minutes.
And it worked?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, was the picture quality as
there?
as
Okay,
good, or
I noticed more stuttering.
Okay.
But it was still minor enough to like not affect my experience.
I mean, depending on what game you're playing.
Right.
It doesn't matter all that much.
I like Final Fantasy 15 for testing that kind of thing because it's very... I mean...
That is something you do want responsiveness for.
Yeah. Right. And you want responsiveness for it. And there's so many effects going on screen in a game like that.
Did the picture quality look worse on the airplane, or did it still try to target that like 1080?
I see what you mean. Like, did it downscale?
Yeah.
No, it didn't. I didn't see any downscale.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. I did see... Maybe this is just like placebo on my part, but I did notice like more stuttering. You know how like when you play... wasn't this bad, but you know how when you play Scarlet and Violet, have you ever been running and it just freezes?
Yeah.
And then for like almost half a second, and then you keep going.
Yeah.
I was some of that, not that bad, but some of that.
Yeah.
It's
and that particularly bad.
That could be my phone, for all I know. You know.
I mean, considering you're on airplane Wi-Fi, you know, like how reliable can anyone truly expect the connection to be? You know, the fact that it worked at all and seemingly worked pretty good is a small miracle in and of itself. That's surprising to me.
Yeah, I thought it would just be a good experiment to pull. I wouldn't have purchased airplane Wi-Fi if not for that, but I did want to see how this works.
Well, we appreciate your sacrifice for science.
$10 out of my pocket.
That's not, and it went for the whole flight?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's not bad. How long was the flight?
Oh boy, my first flight was direct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my first flight was direct, so it was...
like 4 hours, maybe?
Yeah, almost 5.
Oh, really? Almost 5. Wow, that's crazy, because it takes like 5 hours to get to the East Coast. Why does it take 5 hours to get to Ohio?
Maybe I'm wrong. It could have been 4.
You know, but there are weird things like that, though. Yeah. Just with like the way the planet is curved and stuff.
And also what the weather's like.
Yeah.
And stuff
if
like
they got to
that.
go around and there's a lot of traffic in one area for some reason.
Or they have to go slower through a certain storm.
All kinds of things.
Right.
Yeah. Well, let's speed through it.
Right.
Have you been up to anything else, or?
Well, the composer of Seraphim and friend of the show who wrote our theme song.
Yes.
Matthew, I can't talk about too much because he is actually like signing an NDA today, as far as I understand. But he is leveling up.
He's leveling
up in like toward the game industry.
Really?
Like he's actually starting to do work for like a game company, and
like one that I would know.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I'm really proud of him, and I just wanted to say that. Like, I can't talk about what he's doing, but he's got opportunities now.
Well, congratulations, Matthew.
He's really making something.
Well, we're lucky we got him for the podcast before he goes super.
Before he's too good for us. Matthew, you're doing great, man. Keep it up. And that's about all I'm doing.
Oh, you know, we're gonna have to... Hold on, real quick. We're going to have to add a new shout-out segment.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That would be a good segment to have.
Really? You think so?
Yeah, I think so,
I was trying to give you a hard time. Because you've been doing a lot of shout-outs.
No, let's do... well, you have a podcast. You might as well shout out...
Sure. You know what? I want to give a shout-out, actually.
Go for it.
There is someone who we've never named, but every week his presence has been felt on this podcast because he provides the very chair that Rick sits in week after week.
That is quite the contribution.
And Ben, I just gotta say, you know, it's so helpful to have your folding chair, and we really, really appreciate it. And keep it up.
Keep it up, Ben. Work. Keep up that hard work, Ben. Thank
you.
He is a big fan though.
Oh yeah,
he listens.
Might be our biggest fan.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Every time he listens to an episode, he comes and talks to me about it, and
he asks questions.
Yeah, he has good questions.
Good stuff. I mean, if you are listening and we start talking about something you don't know and you have access to us,
let me read Rick's phone number and you can text him.
But like, you know, there's someone at work who listens that he's done that too. He didn't know about something or he doesn't understand what something is.
Right.
And he comes and asks me and I love talking about it. So, thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Ben, for that chair.
So we were at Depeche Mode's concert last night.
We were, independently. We didn't initially know that we were both going to this concert.
Yeah, well, I knew you were going when I got my ticket, but...
Oh, okay. You never said anything
not
to
vice
me.
versa, yeah.
Because I had told you months ago that I was going to see Depeche Mode.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh no, I hope my girlfriend doesn't find out.
Yeah. Well, she did. So we went, which was great.
Oh, yeah.
I mean...
Yeah, I know you were joking.
Floor seats,
Yeah, you guys sprung.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, but I mean, who knows when Depeche Mode will be back in town.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah, I had a great time at the show. Played a lot of...
Played a lot of Nintendo Switch?
No. They played, the songs you'd hope you'd hear, and then some deeper cuts, and they put on a good show, and they are still the two original members are still very...
Spry.
Yeah, like they are. I mean, particularly the lead singer. He is spinning around on stage like a top.
Dave Warren, I think.
No, I don't know that we're getting that name right.
All right.
But I think it's Dave. Yeah, we're just embarrassing ourselves.
Yeah, we were born in 89. We're not Gen X.
But we grew up on their music because of our parents, I would say, or at least in my case, that's where I heard Depeche Mode from. My mom and my dad were both.
Not so much me, but the bands that I did listen to all had Depeche Mode covers.
Gotcha.
And that's how I found out.
Yeah. I mean, and they've never lost relevancy.
No.
No,
they are like, and this might sound like an insult, but I don't mean it as an insult or negative, but they are kind of the epitome of like normie music, in my opinion.
Okay.
Like they're what your average person would listen to.
Okay.
In a lot of, to me.
Okay.
Huh,
yeah.
But
I'm feeling a little offended right now.
I mean that as a, they're not, I mean, I don't know. They have a wide appeal is what I'm trying to say.
They do have wide appeal. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're popular songs, but I mean, they also have songs. I mean, about half of what they played, I would say, were not like their popular, super well-known pieces, right?
There are two songs that are very popular. People Are People and Somebody?
Yeah, they didn't even play all their hits.
Yeah.
They
didn't play those, but
they didn't play Wrong.
They did play Personal Jesus, and that was like the one I needed to hear.
Yeah.
And they closed with it.
Yeah.
Which was perfect.
Yeah, I had heard that they had been doing Just Can't Get Enough in their encore at all their shows, but I wasn't sure if they were just gonna like end there or like do multiple songs beyond that, and they did.
Yeah, they did.
We got 3 or 4 additional songs after they came back out on stage.
There was no way they weren't gonna do an encore.
Oh no. I mean, I went to a show one time
and there was nothing.
I'm not kidding you. The band, before they started playing at the beginning, said, "We don't do encores. We find them disrespectful."
Wow.
And they said, "Do not
ask for one."
Yeah.
So I commend their bravery. I can understand. I think it's a ridiculous concept. I always look for one at the end of a show, but it is kind of like silly.
I mean, yeah, it's like, oh, is there a chance that if we don't clap and scream loud enough that they won't come back out?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, are they waiting for, you know, the right pitch of
Right.
screaming
Right.
before, like, oh, encore activated?
Yeah. I don't know.
I think it's a way for them to take a quick 5-minute breather.
Yeah.
And then, you know, just continue.
Just call it an intermission then.
Yeah.
What is this encore concept? But
I mean, I'm sure it goes back to...
It goes back to something historical.
Yeah.
No doubt. Shakespeare or some, I don't know. But yeah. Really good show. Yeah, really good concert.
It was a good time. Now, I something happened to me at the concert. And I know we're very off the video game topic now. But I'm just going to share this story real quick, or as quick as I can. There's a point where, for a while, people have been standing up, and then some people decided to sit back down. At least where I was. On the ground floor, you guys were probably standing the entire time.
Pretty much.
Because you don't really have a scaled kind of seating arrangement. You're all just on flat level.
Well, we have chairs like this.
Right, but what I mean is, like, the chairs aren't, like, stepped down.
Oh, yeah, they're not stadium.
Yeah, they're not stadium style. But, you know, up anywhere else off the floor, it's stadium style seating.
Right.
So, anyways, my girlfriend and I, we decide that we're going to keep standing. You know, some people are still standing, and we want to keep standing. We're enjoying, we want to move our bodies a little bit, you know?
Yeah. As you should.
Like, this is Depeche Mode, guys.
Right. Very danceable music.
Yeah. And some lady, not quite behind me, but sort of at an angle where, because I was standing and she was sitting, she could no longer see. So she's got these, like, long fingernails on her, and she starts digging it into my shoulder and tapping me. And she goes, "Can you sit down, please?"
Yeah.
And I turn back and I'm like, "I'm sorry.
This isn't the movies."
Yeah, like, look all around you. There's people standing up. I'm going to stand up.
Yeah. And
so I turn back around. And then give it 10 seconds. She does it again, but she is really sticking that fingernail into me now.
Nice.
And I turn around again, and she's like, "Sit down. No one's standing." And I'm like, "You're wrong. Look behind you. The row behind you is standing.
Only these 2,000 people."
Yeah. And I'm like, "I'm sorry. I'm not sitting down. Like, I'm enjoying the show."
Right.
And she does it one more time to me, and, like, this time really hard, and I'm like, "Do not do that again." I turn around and tell her, but then she's with some guy who then proceeds to grab my neck and try to force me down into my seat.
Wow. So you got assaulted. And
I got assaulted.
Yeah, that's
but what the craziest thing that happened was there was this group that was kind of more directly behind my girlfriend and I, and they were a portly bunch.
Okay.
And they were sitting at that point, but when they saw what was happening, they turned to the people they were sitting next to, who we were supposedly that we were blocking their view because they were sitting. They turn around and they say, "Leave them alone. They're having a good time. Leave them alone."
Some people came to your rescue.
Yeah. Nice. And they have to sit next to those people. And then later on in the show, they're like, "You guys get it. You're having fun."
So you guys were basically, or you in particular,
I was assaulted.
You were a damsel in distress in that situation.
I mean, what else? Do I start a fight and get thrown out of Depeche Mode?
No.
Like, that's not what I want.
I mean, no, of course not.
All I did was, he didn't get me into my chair.
Right.
I told him, and...
I mean, who does that? Who at a concert...
Probably people who've been drinking for the last 2 hours.
I mean, did she seem drunk? Because, like...
Yeah. And then when her boyfriend or whatever, or whoever it was, her brother, I don't know what, got involved, that's when I spoke some French to him.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're at a concert. I get people standing up in front of me who are like 8 feet tall all the time.
And you know what you do? You stand up.
Yeah, you stand up.
Yeah, and you just suck it up.
You might lean a little bit.
Yeah, and maybe your view isn't perfect anymore.
But it's a concert.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
Especially when you're on the ground level, general admission, ground level
Oh,
floor.
yeah.
Like, you're always, going to be struggling to get a perfect view.
I've been to shows and stuff that don't have stadium seating, and that's how it is.
Yeah, if they had stood up, they would have perfect visibility.
Right.
But because they wanted to sit down.
Yeah.
I want to turn around and be like, "Get off your ass."
Yeah.
And enjoy the show.
Right.
Like, come on.
Or just tell her to go stand in the aisle.
Oh no, they had someone there. Like anytime someone tried to stand in the aisle or like at the edge.
Oh really? They
they
flick their flashlight.
Because they're people are usually trying to get like a good shot
Yeah.
or something, and so they try to ruin their camera image or whatever by flashing the light in it. Which I appreciated because like I don't want those people standing in front of me. Like go back to your seat up in the nosebleeds, bro.
Right.
But aside from that, adding a little bit of drama to my night, still loved the show. Had a great time.
Good.
But yeah, that was like I couldn't believe what was happening.
That you just got assaulted.
It's like, come on, man. This is Depeche Mode. It's like a good time show. It's not a angry...
I mean, I guess that's what that leans into what I was saying about it being normie music. Because if that was not normie music, if that was power metal, that wouldn't happen. Like, that just wouldn't happen.
There probably wouldn't have been seats on the floor.
She wouldn't have been there.
Probably not.
You know, that's what I mean.
Yeah. Did you see the opening band?
No, not at all.
No, you didn't? Okay. I would have been very curious to get your opinion on them.
Oh,
they were interesting.
I was there for Depeche Mode, so I spent we spent our time, my party and I, getting food, getting drinks, getting merch, taking pictures.
Yeah.
You know, socializing.
I did that before.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, that's how concerts go. You go, the real people show up late.
See, I like to see the opening act because I've discovered like new music through opening acts. Before.
Right. There's definitely value there. I try to.
Yeah. I mean, I understand why you didn't make it last night.
If it's just me
group.
on my own.
You had a big group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm alone, I usually get there right on time.
But we're now going to shift to our main topic.
Back to like the theme of the podcast.
Which is the Game Awards.
Right.
And we both attended in person in Los Angeles.
We were there.
We had a night.
We did have a night.
Yeah, a very interesting night filled with ups and downs. And
positives and negatives.
Yeah. And we're just going to talk. So we attended via a casting agency who... gives out free tickets to attend the show.
Mm-hmm. Gotham Casting
as seat fillers.
Right.
You may have heard of these. They've been kind of like trending lately because people are like going to the Oscars.
People figured them out.
Yeah.
And I believe it was the second Game Awards that was my first time being a seat filler. But at that time, like... There were very little. Yeah. Like very little.
This year they used the seat fillers to really fill out the entire like sides and like back area of the theater. Whereas like the industry people were only in the center. Mm-hmm. Previously the seat fillers would also be mixed in the middle of the show. But this year they just kind of had us on the perimeter.
I think the thinking is that ticket holders are going to sit in the middle or in the back.
Yeah.
So I think that was, they didn't want like the cameras to see that. So they fill in the sides and all that.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, because I mean like as a seat filler, if you're in the middle, at some point you're going to have to get up and move around and it's kind of like awkward. And then the person who is taking your seat or the seat that you've been holding is kind of like, who are you? Why are you in my seat? And there's this kind of awkward exchange.
Right.
So this year they had us on the perimeters. Our sight line was obstructed.
Yes, by that giant
like
crane.
Camera crane.
We're sitting right behind it.
Yeah, so anytime there's like a trailer on screen,
we have a middle-aged man like right in the middle of the trailer.
We're only seeing approximately 50% of the image, and it's like the outskirts of the image. We're not even seeing like the focus of the video. So that was not ideal.
That was not ideal, nor was it my previous experience being a seat filler either. Like that's never happened.
Last year, as a seat fillers, I was front row, dead center.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I had the best seat in the house as a seat filler.
That happened to me too. I
will say, if this is how they're going to do seat fillers going, like next year I'll try it again, and if it's the same thing where I'm sitting next to the crane, I don't know if I'm going to
do a seat filler thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure I want to do that anymore. I might just actually break down and buy a ticket.
I think as a seat filler, you either get lucky or you don't.
Yeah. And this year was not a lucky year.
Not a lucky pull.
Reasons.
Not a good pull.
Yeah, no. We opened that booster pack and we just got a rare.
We got, some non-holographic.
So before we got into the theater,
yeah,
we were waiting in a big line outside the theater where we were checking in with the seat filler group. And then they put us into another line inside the building, but not yet in the theater.
Yes.
And while we were in this line...
It was in a hallway.
It was in a hallway, yes, where there's all these pictures of all the people who've performed at what's now the Peacock Theater.
Right.
I think this is where they do the Grammys every year.
That sounds like believable.
And we got in line next to... Because we had to go through security to get in here, so the people we were next to in line were no longer the people we were next to now.
What is the building called again? I know
it's the Peacock Theater.
It's the Peacock Theater, right?
Yeah, it used to be the Microsoft Theater.
And then the Nokia Theater.
And before that, it was the Nokia
I can't
Theater.
keep up anymore.
Yeah. And we are waiting in this hallway, and we are getting maybe the worst smell that we have ever experienced in our lives.
Like clouds, projectile clouds of body odor just wafting down the hallway.
Like up and like every time someone walks by, it's like the cloud is like moving back and forth.
I see it visually as like an enemy projectile that's just coming in a straight line, periodically.
We are like audibly like, oh my God.
What
is going on? We are like repulsed. And we're I'm trying to like gauge other people around us if they're like, initially I'm trying to be like, oh my God, like I'm trying to say it loud enough that other people are going to be like, oh yeah, man, what the heck is going on?
Yeah, try to start a riot.
Yeah, but I'm noticing that's not happening.
Yeah.
And I think before long, we deduce that the person in front of us in line
is the source
of this smell.
Right.
And so to protect their anonymity.
Real quick.
Okay.
I want to describe the odor itself. Okay, so I was just bewildered that this odor was coming from that a human could produce this odor.
Someone whose appearance you wouldn't think would
maybe certain clues about their appearance kind of make sense, but
at a glance,
at a glance, no,
you would not think this would be the smelliest person on earth.
This body odor smelled like that you'd expect of like a rhinoceros or like a hippopotamus. I could not possibly imagine this coming off a human. I could not possibly imagine myself smelling that way.
I could see a human who is living in very poor conditions, like an unhoused individual. Who maybe hasn't been able to change their clothes in a long time.
Yeah, but you get more of a dust mite type of odor off of those people. It's not so much like, athletic BO. This is
it was. I like to describe that kind of BO as it's got like a spiciness to it.
Yeah, like a pepper, like a jalapeno.
Yeah, there's like a peppery
habanero.
Yeah, and usually to get that smell from someone, you have to like be in their pits.
You have to like or and this is my theory, okay? On that particular aspect. This person must have had like a diet of like garlic and things like that secrete through, through those areas.
That could be the case. Strange diet. I'm guessing not big on showering too often, or maybe their clothes were like found in a gutter or like some heap somewhere.
Given this person and their appearance and stuff, they could have also been on some kind of shower strike. In my opinion.
All right, I'm not too familiar with shower strikes.
Yeah, but... just you don't bathe for 360 days because this cause or something, etc.
All right.
I could see that also
next
being
time
the case.
A video game company does something I don't like, I'm gonna go on a shower.
Yeah, there you go. That's how you get attention.
So we're next to this person in line, and it comes to our realization that we're going to be stuck sitting in a theater with this person for 4 hours straight.
Like, this is why I keep Taylor around, guys.
And we are running out of time to figure out a way to dodge this bullet. I mean, we've already been in the cloud for like an hour.
Right.
And it's the most miserable cloud I've ever been in.
Mm-hmm. It was bad. There was no way that we were going to sit through that whole show next to this person. It was not going to happen.
So the line starts moving, and they're pulling chunks of people into the theater at a time. Mm-hmm. And it's getting to a point where we're getting pretty close to going to the theater. So I turn to Rick, and I'm going to say, the next time the line starts moving, I'm going to pretend I have to tie my shoe, and you wave the people behind us forward, like, oh, go ahead, you know?
Yeah.
And so we let like 4 or 5 people ahead of us.
It was like 10 or...
You think it was 10?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I didn't
think it was quite that much. I know there was like a group of 4 and then maybe 2 or 3 other... Well, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it doesn't. We dodged it.
Yeah.
Thanks to Taylor's brilliant... On the spot in the, like...
Yeah, the final hour. Like, we had to do it now, or it was now or never. Because what happened, as soon as we cross over this door, they hand us a ticket that has our seat and row on it. And then that's where you're sitting the whole night.
Unless you get moved as a seat filler.
But because of the way they did seat fillers this year, I don't think a single seat filler got moved.
Yeah, it seemed like we were there literally to fill seats.
Yeah.
Like empty seats.
Yeah, like seats that he didn't sell, but he wants the theater to look
big,
full and big. Good one, Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff Keeley.
I mean, keep doing it because that's how I get it for free. But
yeah, I mean, we're not saying don't do it.
Yeah. But yeah, more seat fillers than we've ever had before.
It was a lot.
That speaks to maybe the lower quality of seat filler.
I want to say
attendees.
This on the heels of the story that we just shared. I've noticed I have probably done seat fillers a few more times than you, at least one more time than you.
We might be even at this point because I've done it the last couple of years without you.
I missed 1 year, so yeah, that's possible. One was online. I don't count that.
No, 2021 was in person and 2022 was in person. You missed both of those.
2020
you're right. Was the online
okay,
one.
All right. Yeah. So you're right.
We're about even now.
Regardless, in the early days of seat fillers at the Game Awards, the people who came were, sharply dressed. Mm-hmm. You were there holding basically an industry celebrity seat.
I mean, the instructions say, and have always said, you gotta dress nice.
Right. There is a dress code.
Men dress like this. Women dress like this.
Yes.
No bags. No this. No that.
Yeah. There has always been a dress code, and supposedly
it's been upheld.
But
not so much this year, or even last year, I'd say.
I think it was regarded in the beginning, and now it's just.
Well, I'm shocked given how many people that they had in line. We're talking over 1,000 people were in line for seat fillers, at least, if not 2,000 people. They gave out a lot of seat filler tickets this year.
It was a lot. And I mean, nobody. I mean, I don't want to say nobody, but a lot of people look like they made zero attempt to look like they were going to anything affluent whatsoever.
Like they're going to a convention,
right?
Like they just had their T-shirt and jorts,
and some old hoodie with a plushie,
a backpack that they're not supposed to bring. Right. And I don't know why Gotham Casting doesn't say, sorry, no, you can't come in. I mean, they have plenty of people. They can turn people away who don't listen to the rules.
Right.
And show up doing whatever they want.
And also the Game Awards could do that too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much time they have to police it at that point.
Probably not, but
they got other things going on.
Well, they have their own security team, right? That's not Gotham Casting.
No, but I don't know that security's job
to
sniff out people's outfits.
Every single person is walking past a security at the point of the entrance, so they could easily just you out. But
speaking of which, I almost got ejected from the Game Awards this year. Did I tell you about this?
No.
Oh, okay. I'll have to tell you about it when...
This year or last year?
No, this year.
Okay.
After the show was over.
Oh, yeah, you did tell me. I know what you're talking about.
We'll get there.
We'll get there, but because that was at the end of the show, right?
Yeah, but we'll get there before we start talking about the announcements.
My point is that, you know, this person that we almost sat next to, who was intolerable.
The story's not over with them too. We got a little update later in the show about them. Not during the Game Awards, we saw where they were sitting, which was in a different row than us.
Right.
And the two people... We
saw the behaviors of the two people
sitting next to this individual.
The unlucky people that we kind of screwed over with our little move. But, I mean, that person is a symptom of lax rules and an unenforced dress code.
Yeah.
And, you know, the Game Awards... in the past, in the beginning at least, was an affluent event. It was people who were...
It was actually really affordable to go to the Game Awards originally.
Yeah, it was.
It was like $20.
And it's just gone downhill because basically half the audience seems to be seat fillers.
Maybe because it's now so unaffordable. It's like more than $100 to go to the Game Awards now. Right. You're going to pay $100 to get commercials thrown at you for 4 hours straight.
Yeah.
I can't pay for that.
No, the whole show is world premieres and other commercials and guest appearances and just, you know, not awards.
I mean, there's awards, but we have a whole section to talk about awards. But let's keep the train.
Anyways, here. The riffraff is off the chain.
Yeah, so I don't know, Jeff. Do something. Maybe make
Jeff.
Seats. You got to make seats more affordable next year.
Jeff, I know you're listening.
You know what? The overall reception of the awards this year, there were a lot of articles written from major outlets giving the award show a hard time. So I know
that's
Jeff
good.
Has seen,
maybe he will be
probably not complaining about the things we've been complaining about so far. Mm-hmm. But
real quick, like what? Like, can you?
Criticizing how the awards were presented, how there were so few awards presented formally, things like that. Just
how they were rapid fire.
Yeah, I mean, for some things, I get the rapid fire awards.
Yeah,
like when it comes to the esports section.
Yeah, esports and streamers and all that. You can rapid fire that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fire them into the trash can and don't have them again next year.
Yeah, there's that. I mean, okay, I'm not on board with that, but I will say that like the art director award should not be rapid fire.
Yeah.
What was that?
We have a whole section to talk about this, so let's save it for there.
Let's get to it.
So there were a couple of musical performances though.
Yeah.
One that caught you completely by surprise.
Oh yeah. So there is a German, like Proto-Germanic folk band, neo-folk, I guess is what the genre is actually called Heilung. And if you've seen them, you will recognize them. They wear the antler, deer antlers and stuff. Like, they go all out with their appearance and stuff. I know them well. I own their CDs and stuff because I listen to neo-folk. But they were the musical guest, and it was so... Like, I mean, it's a good thing. I'm glad they were there. Mm-hmm. Like, good for them. But, like, that is not what the mainstream...
Well, I actually think they were... I mean, they're not what the mainstream wanted. Or maybe not. Right. But I think they're a good fit for the Game Awards because they're doing...
Yeah, they are working on a game soundtrack. Which, heck yeah. I'm all about that.
Yeah.
Like, I will play that game just because Heilung is... working on the music.
Yeah, you'll need an Xbox though. That's for Xbox You know what's crazy? Xbox Series X has been discounted by $150 the last couple of weeks. $349 for a Series X.
Yeah, I'm getting closer.
That's like with the disc drive too. Before that stuff gets discontinued.
Yeah, it's getting.
I almost want to get an extra one.
I'm probably gonna get one very very shortly, like in the next few months. Regardless, like to see them was just such a surprise.
Yeah, because you probably got to go to Europe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. Oh,
they're doing the music for the new Hellblade game.
Yeah. That's not even... I don't know.
The first Hellblade game is Senua's Sacrifice or something like that. Mm-hmm. And they're making a sequel to that. And it's by Ninja Theory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that. I'm trying to remember what the game looks like.
It's got this like tribal
look.
It's strange.
So it is right up there.
Yeah, it's. I think it's a good fit for them.
Anyways, yeah, just to see them was crazy. It makes sense, their association with the game, but I don't see your average downtown LA person like knowing or understanding that.
But I think that's a good thing for the show.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, because usually they shove in
a hip hop artist or Green Day or something along those lines that just has nothing to do.
I mean, usually it's slightly related to some, like, oh, there's DLC for Rock Band and Green Day's got a pack.
Yeah.
So that's why Green Day's here or something like that.
Yeah, they got some skins in Fortnite or something.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, oh, it's video game related, guys.
Right.
But I like that this year they actually kept all the musical performances actually video game related. And the other main musical performance, aside from the orchestra Game of the Year medley at the end of the show, was truly a performance, a musical performance. Mm-hmm. It was a reenactment of some crazy scene from Alan Wake 2.
Yeah.
But it had
an orchestra with the game's producer.
The director of the game was up there dancing
and singing. Crazy. Yes, I love it.
That's Sam Lake of Remedy Entertainment, the creator of Max Payne, the creator of Control, the creator of Alan Wake.
He looks like he would be a cool guy. You got to talk to him.
I've actually met him twice now. In 2021, I was staking out the JW Marriott before the show.
Yep.
And he was there, and I happened to bring the first Alan Wake for Xbox 360 because there was a rumor that Alan Wake 2 was going to be announced that night at the Game Awards, and sure enough it was. And so he was definitely caught off. I'm sure he was like, well, what the heck? Why do you have that? Why would you be carrying around Alan Wake 1 with you? Because, it was just a rumor, and it had just broken earlier that morning. So yeah, I acted quick on that one.
Last night, sorry, not to derail. I found I was looking for Dirge of Cerberus. I was looking for my copy on it. So I was going through all my PS2 games, and I found Max Payne 1 on PS2. Nice. And I'm like, damn. If I had this.
Right there, yeah. And then this year after the show, I wasn't able to get anybody's signature inside the theater, mm-hmm. and I was basically on my way to find you, who had dipped out of the theater a little before me, mm-hmm. and I just happened to be walking towards the car where we parked, and I was looking down at the ground as I was walking, and I heard someone say, "Congratulations," and then someone say, "Thank you." And I looked up, and there it was. Sam Lake was walking right by me. And someone had just, congratulated him on winning. And so I, quickly pulled out my cover, ran up to him, and I had Alan Wake Remastered that they released last year.
Did you have any kind of conversation with him?
It was very brief. It was like, hey, would you please sign this? And he was like, oh, definitely, man. And then I was like, congratulations on all your wins tonight. Yeah. He was like, thank you. But they were off to go celebrate. I hear the JW Marriott gets wild after the Game Awards.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
We should.
But unfortunately, I had to take you to work. Otherwise, I would have hung out longer.
We should consider booking a room in the future.
Oh my god. That's picking it up on the mic, dude.
Oh, shoot. I got you. I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah, that means stop scratching your chest.
But yeah, I mean, imagine if we had a room and just walking around.
Yeah. I mean, that's the dream. The JW Marriott is expensive.
Oh, yeah. We'd have to, save up
$700 a night.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that place gets wild. That would be a good place to do some celebrating.
I've had experiences in there, too.
Yeah.
At the time of E3.
But let's keep this train moving.
Mm-hmm.
So the musical performances were cool. They were all video game related. That is that gets a gold star from me.
Yes.
And so good job there, Jeff.
Yeah. So credit where credit's due.
Yeah.
The musical guests and stuff have been a complaint of ours in the past.
Yeah. Some of there were. Yeah. Did I mind having front row seats to see Green Day?
No.
But like, why are they
Yeah,
there?
I
You know,
get Koji Kondo to play
Yeah.
something instead of that.
I agree. Yeah, it's just not as appropriate as what we got this year. So that was a nice improvement. The other big thing about the award show, I'd say the biggest thing about this award show are the game announcements.
Yeah.
And
yeah. The awards are secondary. The world premieres are
yes,
the
first
focus.
and foremost.
Yes.
And I will say this has probably been maybe one of the best years for announcements at the Game Awards. There's a lot of stuff here personally that I was excited to see, and I just kind of wanted us to run through what some of these were.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Go for it.
So one of the coolest things I think was that Sega, in a single trailer, announced 5 new games in like legacy series.
Yeah.
So one of them was Golden Axe,
Yeah.
which is a classic
so-
Genesis title.
Immediately, Golden Axe is my focus of those 5.
Yeah. Crazy Taxi.
Yeah.
I knew Crazy Taxi. Crazy Taxi was huge.
I was
in the late
thinking about
90s.
that recently, and
Yeah.
there it is.
The arcade games.
Yeah.
And then we have Jet Set Radio, which we haven't seen a new entry for
So
since.
that would probably be like the biggest, like, oh my god moment
Yeah,
for people.
like they're bringing back Jet Set
Yeah.
Radio. Not since Jet Set Radio Future on the original Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going back 20 years now.
Yeah.
A new Shinobi game. That one was kind of a little more unexpected. There was a Shinobi game on 3DS.
Yeah, there was.
I think we played the demo of that one
Yeah.
at E3.
I think I bought it.
Then there was they did a special thing at Comic-Con one year. They had an offsite, and like Shinobi was one of the featured games. It was around the time Sonic Generations came out, I remember.
And Streets of Rage.
A new which we just had a new Streets of Rage not long ago. Streets of Rage 4.
Right.
But I wonder if this will be Streets of Rage 5 or if they're going. But this one looked like it was not like 2D. It looked like it was 3D models, but still on that sort of 2.5D.
I could go off on the history of Streets of Rage and the many efforts to bring like another installment throughout like Sega's history.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, this Sega is. We talked about this in a previous episode. They're trying to lean in.
Yeah.
Hard.
Sega's trying to make a big comeback.
Yeah, they're trying to bring that.
And this is the beginning.
This
of
is
it.
and this is great.
And now I don't know how much these titles appeal to young gamers.
Yeah, that's fine.
I feel like they're making these for people our age and older.
Well, we don't know that because we haven't seen the games. We're only looking at.
No, they showed gameplay for all 5 of these.
Was
it
great? Was it gameplay though?
I mean, I'm sure it was early alpha footage for most of these.
Regardless, I mean, you could make a game in any one of these franchises for little kids if you wanted to.
Right.
That's my point. But Golden Axe is the one that I'm like crazy about.
That one, if you remember the footage, it wasn't like side scrolling. It was like an open 3D environment. So have they made a Golden Axe game like that before?
I don't think so.
For PS1 or something.
Yeah,
like that?
there was. So on Saturn, there was a fighting game with Golden.
Because I know like Contra has had like really bad like 3D style games that aren't side scrolling.
One installment in the Golden Axe franchise was only on the Sega's 32-bit arcade like board.
Okay.
There was a particular board that only had like 4 titles on it, and that's the only time it's been released.
Okay.
As far as I know, you'd have to like play it on an emulator,
right?
And I don't know if that one was like third person or what's going on with that. But,
so Sega said these titles will be released over the next several years. So I doubt we'll probably won't see any of them released next year.
What I expect to see is Sega actually making real games that will compete with like what we're seeing.
I mean, because in recent years it's really only been Yakuza and Sonic games.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like we get some Super Monkey Ball remasters, things like that.
Yeah, it's been a lot of that. But like, if Sega is wanting to do what they say they want to do, and
I should mention they do publish all of Atlus's games and Vanillaware's games now too. So
I mean, yeah, but that's not doing anything for their identity as like
Sega.
a Nintendo
Yeah.
competitor,
Right.
or equal or whatever they're trying to be.
Yeah.
So, but this, like, if they did bring Golden Axe, Streets of Rage, Shinobi, Jet Set Radio, Crazy Taxi to the modern era,
Right.
with like open world Golden Axe,
Yeah.
like
I
that
have a
could work.
feeling, yeah, like I feel like Crazy Taxi could be really wild with like what
Imagine like Grand Theft Auto 5.
Crazy Taxi.
Yeah. Yeah, with all the Sega quirkiness that it has.
Yeah. There's a lot of opportunity to do a lot of amazing stuff here, but I also feel like by really leaning into these sort of nostalgia titles, they're also likely to upset people if they get this wrong.
Right. Yeah, so there's a couple threats that they, pitfalls that they could fall in. One is messing this up.
Yeah.
For like the nostalgic audience that they seem to be targeting. The other is cutting themselves off at the generational knees with just targeting our generation.
Right.
And doing nothing to appeal to.
I guess they have Sonic. Sonic is, for whatever reason, never not popular with children.
That's because there's always been a Sonic title coming out. There's never not been a Sonic title coming out. But there has been decades of no Golden Axe, decades of no Streets of Rage.
Well, no, we just had a Streets of Rage 2 years ago.
We just had one, but there were decades.
It had been a while, been a long time.
And so, this is actually resurrecting stuff.
Yeah.
With Sonic, that can appeal to younger, people younger than us. You don't have to have grown up with Sonic to like Sonic.
Exactly.
And Sega has other properties that they could leverage that way.
Yeah.
And
they're starting to, clearly.
They could leverage these titles that way. There's no reason that a Golden Axe open world RPG couldn't appeal to some young kid.
By the way, we're not saying that the new Golden Axe
No,
is
we're
an
not.
open
It's
world
not.
RPG.
We're just...
we have no idea.
Spitballing, but... you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
They just need to make sure that they don't.
That's where marketing does its job.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But also with game design. They can't lean too hard into arcade side scroll, because that appeals to us, but that's not going to carry them.
Right. Some of these titles I think will have a more traditional expected route that they go, and then I think some of them will be a little... Streets of Rage, from what we saw, it did look like it was side scrolling.
If they want to be smart, they should look at what Nintendo's doing with Mario.
Yeah.
Be like, okay, so we have our big Mario Galaxy. Let's have our big Golden Axe open world. And then let's also have another Golden Axe title at the same time. Why not?
Yeah.
That is a side scroll.
Like traditional Mario.
Yeah, and have them tie together. Have the lore all canonical with each other.
Yeah.
And, that's how they should do it. Because then they're giving everybody what they need. But...
All right, next announcement.
Sorry.
No, we're good. We're good. Hello Games, the creators of No Man's Sky, which was one point one of the most controversial games to ever be released.
Upset.
Yeah. They have announced their next big game called Light No Fire. So this is their first game announcement in a decade, effectively. Mm-hmm. They've been supporting No Man's Sky with multiple updates every year since I can't remember, it came out 2016 or something like that, I think. Mm-hmm. And instead of No Man's Sky, which is a game where they've sort of created this procedural universe that is the same procedural universe for every player, instead of making a whole universe filled with planets and biomes and all kinds of things to explore, they're focusing in on just making one single Earth-sized planet.
Right.
So they're making a new fantasy Earth the size of what Earth actually is.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's a crazy concept. The thought that I had when watching the trailer and listening to Sean Murphy talk, who's become kind of a darling.
Yeah.
Since the controversy back in the day with No Man's Sky. There's been a lot of YouTube videos about his kind of journey.
He could have ran with the money and never looked back.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But he didn't. He's been putting out free update after free update after free update for No Man's Sky.
While having just crap slung at him from Twitter.
And he just persevered.
Yeah. And didn't look at it.
No, I mean, sure he looked at it.
Yeah, but you know what I mean, like...
He didn't eat it.
Yeah, he didn't eat it. That's a good way to put it. But yeah, so looking at this, my immediate thing is like, they are retooling. They're retooling. That's what I feel from this.
Okay.
They're taking a lot of what they developed with No Man's Sky and the procedural, especially probably server-side procedural code, and retooling it to make this new experience that I'm sure is going to be a brand new experience.
Yeah.
It's
ambitious.
It is.
It's as ambitious. It doesn't sound, on paper, it doesn't seem as ambitious as No Man's Sky, because No Man's Sky has millions of planets in it.
Right.
But after you spend about 5 minutes on each planet, you've basically seen the whole planet. Because they're all one singular experience for the most part.
Imagine if this idea came together with the No Man's Sky idea somehow, and
I'm sure maybe
that might be the direction,
long-term goal to try to do something. Yeah. Like, okay, now we have a whole solar system.
Yeah, like with full-size planets.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be nuts.
I mean, but just a whole planet on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as a real person, not a video game character, or like a video game avatar, like, you could spend your whole life trying to explore this whole planet.
Yeah.
And you won't.
You'll
die.
You'll die, yeah.
So the fact that they're making an Earth-sized planet and this is going to be, I don't know if it's mandatory multiplayer, but there is some sort of like, it's a shared Earth.
Yeah, okay.
It's a shared Earth.
Yeah, well, I mean, No Man's Sky is a shared universe.
Yeah, you can play offline in No Man's Sky.
You can?
But, I mean, I think...
But you are accessing the same, like...
Yeah, there is like a sort of a server... Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, if two players go to that same place, the algorithm has already determined what that looks like for everyone who will ever play.
Right.
And, there's a slim chance when you're playing No Man's Sky that you'll bump into another player. The odds are really low. But as you kind of
Not in the beginning, but they are now.
No, now there's actually a lot of people still playing. The thing is with No Man's Sky, everyone starts out on the outskirts of this, universe. Mm-hmm. But the goal, the story is leading you towards the center. Mm-hmm. And so as you get closer to the center, that's when you start encountering people.
Oh, okay.
And what's cool about No Man's Sky is that as you encounter a new planet that's no one ever seen before, you can name them. And then if you land on the planet, any of the creatures you find, you can name all the creatures. And that becomes the permanent name for that creature.
Yeah.
For any person who lands on that planet in the future would see that,
you're literally being an explorer.
Yeah. It's still crazy.
It's mind-boggling of a concept.
But this is going to take it to where you're like Magellan.
Yeah.
Where you're gonna be like people. I'm just imagining people coming together, making atlases of the planet together.
Mm-hmm. Do we know is it gonna be habited or uninhabited or?
No, there's gonna be creatures. Okay. I mean, the trailer indicates that there's multiple races that you can kind of be to. They showed rabbit people and.
Oh, okay.
It's got a fantasy vibe to it.
Oh, right. Yeah. I remember.
It doesn't have a sci-fi vibe. It's got a fantasy vibe.
I remember seeing that. Yeah.
And so that's kind of cool. It showed you could mount dragon-looking creatures and fly around. Mm-hmm. One thing he said specifically was that this planet will have real mountains, not video game mountains.
Yeah, right.
You ever know a video game mountain is a little hill you climb over.
Even in Breath of the Wild and stuff,
it's still not a mountain.
Yeah,
you
can climb that in 6 minutes.
Exactly. So they're talking about miles high,
that take
Everest.
A day.
If you wanted to climb to the top, you would literally have to spend 24 hours.
Yeah.
And I know some people that are probably hearing me say this and they're like, why would you want to do that?
Yeah.
And to me, I'm like, why wouldn't you want to do that?
Okay. Counter argument.
Okay.
So, go climb a real mountain then, if that's what you want.
I mean, sure, but there's the amount of preparation.
I don't want to have to work.
No, that's not what it is. It's a goal of mine to climb down the Grand Canyon and back up the Grand Canyon. And if you've ever looked into that, that's actually like a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something you can just go do.
Mm-hmm.
And so one day I hope to do that. But I mean, like, if I want to go climb Mount Everest, I have to put my hands in the life of some Sherpa dude who I've never met before, you know?
Yeah, right.
So it's like, I think I'd just rather climb.
Okay, so the risk of dying is what would deter you
Yeah, because if I die in the video
from
game...
doing it from real life. I understand. That's a good point.
Yeah, and then you have to spend thousands of dollars getting out there, or I could just buy, you know, a $70 game. And
I guess the principle of, you know, just as games become more realistic like that, you know...
Because then imagine, you know, No Man's Sky is a VR mode. So this thing
is going to
have a VR mode.
Oh, yeah.
And that might actually make me jump on PlayStation VR too.
Right.
If this game ends up supporting that.
Quick question about games in VR modes. I know there are games that are exclusively VR, right? But games that release VR modes, and these do tend to come out like after the title launches.
Sometimes,
right?
yeah.
Is it a different... I mean, I know it's a VR experience, but are like the cinematics different? Like,
I think they have
no camera cuts and that.
I think, for example, the Resident Evil VR versions, the cinematics are incorporated in a VR sort of perspective.
So you're standing in front of the thing happening. You're not seeing camera cuts and angles.
Or if like you're playing as Leon, and Leon is, you know, something's happening to Leon. You're not watching it happen to Leon.
Right.
You are Leon. Right. You know, whatever's happening to Leon is happening to you.
Right. Yeah, so it is a different game experience.
Yeah. Now, whereas with No Man's Sky, though, the game is first person or third person. So when you're in VR mode, you're basically playing just the first person mode in VR. I mean, obviously the controls work differently. You're able to like see your hands and do things with your hands. But like you're not in like a separate mode. You're still playing in the same sandbox that everyone's playing in.
Right. Okay.
So I would imagine for this, if Light No Fire supports VR out of the box, or eventually it'll just be able to be VR.
Right.
You know, along with everyone else that's playing.
Did we mention the title yet?
I think I said it at the beginning. Light No Fire. Yeah. So. I thought maybe it would be No Man's Earth or something like that.
Yes, Woman's Land.
Because it has some similar design motifs. Like the logo is very similar to the logo for No Man's Sky.
I noticed that.
I'm sure there probably some mixed lore stuff going on.
I'm sure they're connected.
Yeah. Anyways, I just think it's cool. I think the idea of like, imagine like you're out in the wild, you're trying to survive. Who knows what kind of survival mechanics will be in it.
Yeah.
And then you encounter another player, and then you two build a house together.
Yeah.
And then like you find another player, and
or
then you help them
they
build
become
a
like a spouse or something to you. You know, basically in a way.
I mean,
like, think about it.
Yeah, I mean,
you're surviving together.
Yeah.
Like that is kind of the dynamic.
And then eventually you've got like a whole village that you've formed, and like people, then you guys harvest, and you like, dude, that sounds...
You're starting like a second life.
Yeah.
Like that's what that sounds like.
Like, I mean, that sounds crazy, but like that's the kind of thing like where I could see this kind of going.
Yeah,
you know?
Pretty hard, yeah.
Like in a cool way and also kind of a freaky way.
Yeah. I mean, if in your real life you amount to not much, but in here you're Christopher Columbus, yeah, you're gonna spend most of your time doing this. You know, you're
killing people with smallpox blankets.
Yeah, well, I don't know, that could be mythological actually, but
okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Where you could be like
exploring, you know, what he's actually known for doing.
Yeah. I was just giving you a hard time.
Yeah.
So I knew you were gonna bring up the Christopher Columbus.
Well,
that's why I said Magellan. I don't know if Magellan's got as many skeletons in the closet.
You don't know anything. Those people lived 300 years ago or more.
I think more.
You don't know anything.
Maybe they lived 20 years ago.
You don't know anything. Like, you weren't there, dude.
Okay, well, all we have is historical accounts, which, you know, are subject to all kinds of...
Yeah, that's nothing.
things.
That's people's word of mouth.
For all we know, Christopher Columbus didn't even exist.
We don't know. You don't know that. You don't.
All right, so then we don't know anything.
We don't.
All right. Good point.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyways, but what we do know is that Light No Fire is coming.
Great segue.
In the future. And anyways, I am incredibly... My mind races when I think about this game.
It's a crazy big
Like,
concept.
as a kid, if this concept is presented to me...
Yeah.
That's all I'm thinking about day and night.
Yeah, it would consume you.
Yeah. Okay, another really big announcement from the show, and the announcement that ended the show, but not the last announcement we'll talk about. Capcom announced Monster Hunter Wilds, which is aka Monster Hunter 6.
Mm-hmm.
Monster Hunter has this, even though they stopped numbering the games, there's always been this theme where in the logo there's these sort of like dragon heads on the logo representing the number game that it is.
Mm-hmm.
And Monster Hunter World was Monster Hunter 5 because it had these little like dragon heads, 5 dragon heads on the illustration. And now Monster Hunter 6 has 6 of these little dragon heads on the illustration.
Right.
Basically letting fans know, hey, this is Monster Hunter 6. We don't number it anymore because people don't buy games with big numbers on them. But anyways, yeah, Monster Hunter.
That's another topic.
Monster Hunter, I mean, that's another topic. Let's not talk about it. Monster Hunter Wilds, we don't really know much. It's there's going to be more info in summer of 2024. The trailer itself didn't really say a whole lot. I guess it's really, the point it was trying to make across is that, like, imagine you have like a wide open savanna,
right?
You know,
I mean,
it's like
that. Okay, I'm not as invested in Monster Hunter.
I know
as
you're
you
not.
are. Okay, but I appreciate the games and I appreciate the mechanics.
Monster Hunter World in particular kind of changed the trajectory of the series. It went from being this sort of popular but still niche series to something with more wide appeal. And so there's a lot of fervor behind Monster Hunter now as a series, which I'm happy for Capcom.
Right.
It's about time. It deserves it.
That's all fine and good, but what I was going to say was playing the earlier Monster Hunter games, they did feel like that. I had a giant savanna to run around.
Yeah, but they, much like we were talking about Honkai Star Rail, sort of these separate little areas but with loading screens.
Right.
That's how.
Okay. So
and then Monster Hunter World kept the separate like little areas in the map system, but there was no more loading screen when you went between each of the little areas.
Right.
This looks to actually be taking it, and I know it's kind of a cliche at this point, but it's looking to make Monster Hunter more of an open world, which I think is not necessarily the right move. Because, like, what's interesting about Monster Hunter is that each of these little individual areas is sort of like an arena. And, like, there's all kinds of environmental things going on in each of these arenas and ways you can interact with the monsters.
Going to, like, an area on the map felt like a level that you were going to run through real fast.
Yeah, they each kind of have their own unique feel to each area.
Right.
Whereas if you have, like, just a big open environment that's, like, just all... I mean, I'm sure they're not dumb enough to make this mistake. I'm sure they know the risk of, like, okay, we can't just have a big flat area that's open, you know?
But, I mean, it sounds like it's going to be this similar experience still. It's just, you know, separate scenes versus one giant scene with procedural loading. Yeah. That's the difference.
I mean, the trailer doesn't say anything. All the trailer says is, like, Monster Hunter 6 is coming. Look at this really big vista. And we're calling it Wild.
It was just like it showed a stampede of this one creature.
Yeah,
and that was like
a teaser.
Chasing. It was a teaser.
That was a hard teaser. Yeah, this is a probably mid 2025 game. If I had to guess. At the latest or the earliest. So, anyways, I'm just excited. I love Monster Hunter. I'm there day one for the series.
Yeah.
But I was a little whelmed by the trailer. But I'm just happy that it's announced and that it's happening, and we're gonna get more information on it.
Yeah. I mean, just, you know, new Monster Hunter game.
Yeah, new Monster Hunter game. Square Enix had maybe my favorite announcement of the show. Like, in terms of, like, what a surprise came out of nowhere. Like, where Light No Fire, like, blew me away. But, like, I think what I'm looking forward to the most in the near term is the new Mana game.
Yes.
And and this is Visions of Mana, the first new mana entry in 15 years. So maybe you're familiar with Secret of Mana on the Super Nintendo. That seems to be the title that most people are familiar with.
So I can speak to this franchise a little bit. Children of Mana on DS was my first one.
Okay.
And I couldn't get enough.
Well, did you play Final Fantasy Adventure on Game Boy?
Game Boy? No. I mean...
That's actually
yeah,
the
but
first
you don't
Mana
need
game.
to play that.
Yeah.
You don't need to play that.
No. I mean, they're all mostly independent from each other.
I played one Final... What the heck was it? Final Fantasy Legends on Game Boy.
That's the Saga series.
Yeah.
Legends is the Saga series.
It's so weird. Yeah, so Final Fantasy Adventure started Mana, and then Final Fantasy Legends started the Saga series.
Yeah, so they didn't want to name it. They kept the Final Fantasy branding, thinking it would help them sell more copies of the game, even though they have.
This is before SquareSoft figured out how they were going to do their North American releases.
Yeah, so they just slapped Final Fantasy.
This was during the era when they named like Final Fantasy IV, Final Fantasy II.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing.
Making all kinds of egregious mistakes that they
terrible.
would come to regret later.
They just abandoned it later.
Yeah.
But yeah, Children of Mana was like this game that blew my mind on DS, and then playing Secret of Mana, the remake on PS4, super difficult. They did not like skimp on the difficulty in the remake. Like they didn't dumb it down at all.
It's as difficult as it was originally.
Yeah, it's just you got 3D graphics. Still got the same top-down view.
Yeah.
Still the same classical mana mechanic, which I loved to see in the new trailer.
Yeah.
It looked like a huge evolution.
Oh yeah.
On like the mana mechanic, but still obviously present.
This is a mana game getting a massive, huge budget. It appears.
I hope so.
Like this,
it's beyond.
It's got to be one of the nicest looking games I've ever
so
seen.
beyond freaking time for this.
Yeah. They've had some remakes and some remasters in recent years, and I think sales have been good. And so they finally said, you know what? Here's the money you've been wanting to make a new one.
Yeah.
Like a big new one. Like a AAA mana game.
Right.
That's what this looks like.
Yeah.
The colors, the visuals, the environments, it all looks fantastic. It looks like it has really nicely done cutscenes just from the little bits of things that we saw in the trailer. Like it's a high product. This is like a day one. Normally with Square Enix games, they dip in price, but I'm supporting this day one when it comes out. I'm really excited for this game, and I think it said it's next year. Maybe it didn't say a year. But yeah, Visions of Mana. I can't wait. Out of left field. Nobody saw this coming. No one.
Yeah, we were trying to guess, or at the moment, like, what was this going to be? Dragon Quest?
Well, that morning, Square Enix filed a trademark for Visions of Mana.
Oh, so people knew. Okay.
Well, but like, there's like 20 different like mana games that are like mobile gacha junk.
Really?
That are like low effort kind of stuff. So people were like, oh, it's probably some other.
Yeah. Okay.
But then when this got unveiled, nobody expected this.
Yeah.
No one. If we were getting a new mana game, no one thought it would look like this.
I will be playing this. So
you have a particular game you wanted to talk about that was or not announced, but it got a new trailer.
Right. So from what I've seen, like going 3 years back, I've seen the developer talking about this game, in various places on the internet, and also at Gamescom. I believe they revealed a trailer, but
yeah, this game has been getting like a steady release of new trailers over the last several years.
It looks like a years-long project. I mean, and it is, because their last game. Well, they had a game come out in. This is Game Science is the developer, and they're a Chinese developer. Their last game was Legend of 100 Heroes, which came out in 2022.
Oh, okay.
They've obviously been working on this game way longer.
This must be like a separate team working on the other one.
Their previous game, before that one, was Art of War: Red Tides back in 2016.
Okay.
And
there's been a huge influx of like the Chinese game scene has exploded.
Yeah.
Really
Genshin,
great.
I don't know if Genshin Impact is a cause or a symptom, but it seems connected.
I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing that we're getting more Asian created games.
No, not at all.
Yeah, and China has so much rich history and just mythology to pull from.
Oh yeah, they have. Yeah, and Japan does that and has done that.
Yeah, and so I'm excited to get another perspective on Asian. And this is like, from what I understand, this game, which have we even said the title yet?
No, I'm talking about it, and you just took it.
Okay.
All right, so let me get back.
Sorry, I thought we were sharing this.
We are. Let me get into the meat here, and then Dan will share. So this game is Black Myth Wukong from Game Science.
Okay.
And if you look at the trailer that was shown, and this is the first I am hearing about this game, I'll be honest and stuff. So I didn't actually know about the developer or about like the history of this project. But looking at the trailer, the aesthetic, and the just the creature design especially, just had a huge impact on me when I saw it. Like I was like, this is fresh.
Well, you play as
what?
An ape.
Yeah.
The main player
So,
character is
okay,
an
so
ape.
the game is either based on or inspired by Journey to the West, which is
Yes.
a novel from China in like the 1600s.
Yeah.
Which is a very famous novel and stuff. And a lot of, a lot of the creature design and stuff looks like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like if you think of Lovecraft, even though he was an author and didn't have like artwork or anything necessarily, you know what his creatures looked like.
Right.
And that's kind of like how I feel about this.
Visually, I mean,
like
the creatures, it's just like, and that trailer just like hits you one after another with
and then
insane looking designs.
Just side note, they tried to follow that trailer with some Marvel and I'm like, no.
End the show.
But anyways, yeah, so no, we can share. I just wanted to like tell what the game was.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you pretty much said anything I would have contributed.
It was just fresh. Like this is fresh. This like game so like one of my big complaints, and it's not about the Game Awards, but just games in general these days, they look so the same.
Yeah.
Like none of them stand out.
Well, see, I have a feeling this game is going to be a Souls-like game in terms of its gameplay. Maybe.
Probably.
Although I can't really be too sure, but that's just the vibe I kind of get. It seems to be very focused on like boss battles or like battles with big creatures, which is kind of what Souls games are all about. I kind of hope it's more action.
Yeah.
Rather than like.
I hope there's more exploration. Than just.
Yeah,
I played Neo. I don't play Dark Souls, but I did play Neo.
Okay.
And it's linear.
Yeah.
There's a lot of big areas, but they're linear.
Well, I think Dark Souls, those games have never really been open world until until Elden Ring came out. That's when they gave, the soul spin on like a big open world.
Right.
But yeah, Black Myth Wukong looks amazing. I hope it comes out soon. People have been like looking at that game as sort of like almost like vaporware. Like when is this ever coming out? That
is just something that happens with games that have long development cycles.
And like where they're public about it for a really long time too.
And there are a lot of reasons why developers do that. Especially, this is a young developer, okay? This is someone that, like, Game Science, they're not some legacy long-term developer. I think Art of War was their first title.
I mean, there's money behind this game, though.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it must be a huge team working on this. Or a very small team with a lot of money and time.
I don't know if they're publishing themselves or who's giving the money.
Yeah,
but
I'm not sure.
But
someone is publishing or bankrolling the effort, and like they're just letting them bake. They're just letting them cook.
Yeah,
as people like to say. So yeah, let them cook, let them finish it, let them do it on their terms. That's awesome.
I have a couple guesses who it could be.
I mean, maybe it's Tencent. Maybe it's any number of, or maybe it's not.
Yeah.
Like there are independently funded Chinese games like Genshin Impact. And,
it could. Yeah, I mean, directors and stuff do talk to private investors.
And part of the reason why they announce games so early is because they're looking for investors.
Yeah.
Is because they're looking to hire people. Gamers like to be like, well, why did they announce the game so early if it's not coming out for 4 years? It's because it's not the trailer's not for you.
Gamers don't understand a whole lot.
It's like, how can we attract talent if we don't have anything to show anyone what we're doing?
The developer, the person making the game, has to worry about their livelihood and how they're going to do the thing.
Yeah.
And they need to show something for that.
Exactly.
But, they have been rolling this game out publicly for at least 3 years as far as I saw. And I'm super excited. I will be playing this game on day one in August 2024 when it comes out.
Oh, it does have a release date.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. All right, we've wrapped up our discussion on the announcement, so we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
All right. And we're back from our break. What we want to talk about now is the Game Awards have an award problem. We have 32 award categories, and this year only 10 were presented, with an actual acceptance.
Yeah, so only 10 of the 32 awards had someone walk up on stage, accept the award from a presenter. And that means 22 other awards were announced rapid fire style.
Just on a list, on screen, Jeff Keighley talking.
This guy, or this one, and the award goes to this game. Yeah. And the award goes to
literally,
this game.
He reads the award, the winner, award, winner. Like, it was kind of ridiculous.
And it was especially upsetting because people have flown in from around the world thinking that they're probably going to have the opportunity to speak.
They probably have a speech in their pocket.
Yeah, and right before this show came on, they found out that if they win, they won't be speaking.
Yeah.
And that's gotta be a disappointment.
Yeah.
And some of these categories, I can maybe understand that they don't I would prefer to go to a show where every single one of these awards, maybe excluding some of the esports stuff, is announced on stage with a formal acceptance.
Right.
But
I think the esports and stuff should get their time. Like, you probably feel stronger than I do.
There's probably an esports award ceremony.
There
already.
Probably is.
Yeah.
And if not, it should have its own thing.
I'm sure it does.
But some of these I noticed while they were getting rapid fired at me were art director.
Yeah, art direction.
Yeah, art direction. Game direction presented on stage?
I think that one was on stage. Okay. I think usually game of the year, game direction, action game wasn't even announced on stage.
Yeah, that was a big one. All the other genre categories were the same way too.
Yeah, there were I think racing and sports game, fighting game was just in a year where we had Mortal Kombat.
It was unbelievable.
Street Fighter 6. Why did they not get a moment?
Yeah, we had some big contenders.
Yeah, that was bizarre.
It didn't make sense. Was Best Indie presented on stage?
I think Indie Debut was presented on stage. No, one of the indie awards was presented on stage.
The one that got Cocoon won, right?
I think so. Oh yeah, because the developers didn't show up, but the publisher accepted the award on their behalf.
Right.
So the publisher didn't really have a whole lot to say beyond recognizing the team that created the game. But yeah, it was just disappointing. And then for the 10 awards that did go on stage, they had all of 30 seconds to do their speech before Jeff Keighley's team started playing them out with the music.
It was obvious.
It was embarrassing. It was I hate to use the word cringe, but it was oh my God.
It was very cringy. And also, it was obvious the intention or ambition on Keighley's part, on the team's part.
Hey, I got more. I got more ads to show.
I have more. Yeah, exactly. People paid for world premieres, and that's what this is about. Yeah. That's really the message.
You know what the most telling thing is that the Industry Icon Award has not been a part of the show for 4 or 5 years now.
Really?
The first, I want to say 4 or 5 shows, every year there was an Industry Icon Award presented to someone. And this to me was one of maybe the best award out of the whole show, because it gave an opportunity to recognize someone or a group of people who have been in the industry since like the heyday and celebrate their achievements, their life, and everything that they contributed.
It was kind of like the one video game history award.
Exactly. And it just went away. And like they went all out. Like there was like a 5-minute like little mini documentary that would play.
I remember that.
They gave them a bunch of time to come speak.
It would be someone from like the DOS and Commodore 64 days.
One of the years it was Ken and Roberta Williams from Sierra Online.
Yeah.
Who made like the King's Quest games
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
all those classic
That's the
PC.
one I remember.
One year it was Hideo Kojima.
Yeah, of course.
Another year it was the guy at EA who like pioneered a bunch of like the early sports titles and even did Clay Fighters.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
From Interplay? Because that Interplay published.
I know for a fact he worked on Clay. I looked it up and I remember you weren't there that year and I sent you a message and I was like, oh my god, the guy who made Clay Fighters is accepting the Industry Icon Award.
It's Clay Fighter.
Excuse me. Added an S. My apologies. And I think that was the last one.
Yeah,
I don't think there had been another one. And that was like 2018, I want to say.
Yeah, so this, I mean...
And I would go to the award show anticipating who the Industry Icon Award winner would be. Now, it was interesting. Last year, they had Ken and Roberta Williams back as presenters for an award.
Right.
I think maybe the Game Direction Award. And they like touted them as being like previous winners of the industry. Or technically, it was just Roberta who won the Industry Icon Award, not her, just because she was the one who was like writing the games, coming up with the stories, things like that. She was an early woman in the video game industry when there really weren't any.
Right.
So I think that's particularly why they recognized her. But yeah, it's just been disappointing to see that award just fall by the way. And I have actually, I don't want to say harassed Jeff, but he will often do these Q&As on Reddit or AMAs on Reddit, Q&As on Twitter and different areas. And he's actually responded to me in previous years. I'd be like, hey, is there going to be an Industry Icon Award? And he'll reply saying, no, not this year. We don't, he gives some excuse.
Well, like, what's his excuse?
Well, I think in 2021, he replied to one of my comments on Reddit, and he said, oh, because of COVID...
oh, no, we can't do that award because, the virus.
He had some excuse, like, I want to sell... Or no, it was 2020 that he replied to me, because that's when he said, I really want to celebrate the Industry Icon Award with a room full of their peers. Which, okay, I get it. You're not going to do it during the pandemic because you probably can't have them there and they probably can't get the standing ovation that they deserve.
Right.
So 2021 rolls around.
No icon.
Industry Icon Awards, a no-show. 2022 rolls around. No-show. 2023, another no-show.
Yeah.
You know why? This award, he has to pay for it.
Yeah. That's why.
It's a piece of his show's time. And while it was an awesome thing that he was doing originally... He's just decided that it's not worth the time. It's not worth the loss of money. I could be making $1 million in ad revenue during that 10-minute segment.
Which he is. He probably is.
I mean, but he could be selling, trailers, world premieres.
Right, yeah. Which is what he's doing.
Yeah.
Instead.
Exactly. So, yeah, that...
It's not an award show anymore. Mm-mm. Yeah, if you're going to rapid fire a bunch of award names and then the winner, that's not an award show. And then the rest of the 3 hours is spent with trailers.
So, okay, with trailers, and then there was one other really disgusting segment, I would say.
Oh, okay, I know what you're talking about. Yep.
So Jeff Keighley is very close friends with someone who I revere.
Same.
Yeah. Hideo Kojima comes out on stage and announces his new game, OD. Mm-hmm. And this announcement is done by Kojima walking out of this door, very reminiscent of the door from the PT demo. Mm-hmm. And he walks out of the stage and he goes and starts talking with Jeff. And then 2 minutes later, they play some weird trailer. That's just people going fee fi fo fum, fee fi fo fum.
Yeah, or whatever.
Yeah, like some like voice acting like exercise before you start speaking.
Yeah, it was one of those just Kojima being weird for the sake of being weird. To
No, that voice thing that they were all saying is actually a commonly used industry like thing that people read through and say.
Yeah.
Before I've seen it, those exact words.
I mean the overall presentation.
Yeah.
The props and the trailer itself. It
looked like he was just scanning
being weird to be weird.
Yeah.
And get people interested in talking.
Yeah. So he comes out on stage, and then the trailer plays, and then Jordan Peele comes out on stage along with him, the famous Hollywood movie director, formerly comedian, funny person.
He was great on Mad TV.
And now he takes himself very seriously.
Very
seriously. Very. And the two of them proceed to I'm trying to think of a PG-13 way to say this, but basically they're just tugging each other's chain.
Yeah, they're
just being like, "Wow, you're so amazing." No, you're so amazing.
Yeah, just complimenting each other.
This goes on for nearly 10 minutes.
Ad nauseum. Jordan Peele talking about what a visionary. You know what? As much as I respect Hideo Kojima,
it's out of control.
When you get announced on stage and your entrance is the visionary game designer, what the, how pretentious do you have to be introduced as visionary game designer? And I'm not saying he isn't.
Well, let's talk about the way people react for him. He probably feels that it's warranted.
Yeah.
I mean, people have a rock star fervor for Kojima more than any other person, any other game developer.
Yeah, I get that. I do get that.
He makes grown men scream.
Yeah, I know, and cry and do all kinds of stuff.
Now I'm not saying it's not pretentious. It definitely is, and it's annoying how far down this rabbit hole he's gone.
If he ever has a downfall, I feel like this will be the catalyst. This is what's going to lead to it.
If this game ends up being a wet fart.
Yeah.
It's garbage.
And then everybody starts disliking
This is
him.
what happens when you get that pretentious.
Yeah.
You think you can put out some...
And you start talking like you are the inventor of new genres and brand new concepts that the world has never seen before.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because he gets asked about what kind of game is it.
Yeah.
And he goes on for 2 minutes telling you absolutely nothing and then ending it it's something that's never been seen before.
Yeah, basically.
And then that just makes you want to go. He said the same thing about Death Stranding.
Mm-hmm.
He created a brand new genre.
Yeah, the Stranding.
It's
genre.
A Strand game.
Right.
Strand game.
Yeah, and that's just... Is okay, did you play it?
No. Okay. I haven't played it. But I've heard it's not...
It's not that revolutionary.
Yeah, I mean, it does interesting, unique things.
New mechanics, as every game has.
Right. But it is not a new genre. It's a third-person
game. Okay. It's a third-person adventure game.
Yeah.
You made a third-person adventure
with action elements.
It's not a Strand game, whatever that, because that doesn't exist. That's not a thing.
Now, this game is being made in partnership with Xbox Game Studios, and it will apparently only be an Xbox game.
Well, I mean, his name is money. You're going to have the console holders themselves,
drooling over it.
Yeah,
Well, rumor has it that Death Stranding wasn't as big of a hit as people... I mean, it was a hit, but it didn't maybe pull in the kind of money that you would maybe expect, or sell as many titles as you would maybe expect from the creator of Metal Gear Solid. I think Kojima maybe has a bit of a problem where if it's not a Metal Gear Solid game, you're going to limit the size of your audience quite a bit because you're really only going to get your diehard followers.
I think if he introduced a new military stealth game that wasn't Metal Gear Solid, but clearly the spiritual successor, he would probably pull in hard numbers, heavy numbers.
So we're talking about this a lot, and I have more to say about this announcement. It was people have been examining this trailer, as of course you would
Yeah,
expect
yeah,
people
yeah. Oh,
to
yeah.
do
Yeah,
with
'cause
any Kojima
they're looking
game.
for all kinds of clues and hints and riddles and all
Okay,
that.
so
Yeah.
they found it.
Okay.
So there's these brief one frame letters that pop up during the course of the trailer, like hidden in various places and like people's mouths and in like the little corner of their lip and stuff like that. And it spells Atami, Atami, which people have I don't have the information in front of me, but long story short, people are tying this through a few, I don't want to call them leaps of logic, but connections of logic, to Silent Hill.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Which would be kind of crazy given Kojima's falling out with Konami. But yeah, it appears that it might have just been something tongue-in-cheek he threw in there.
Yeah.
Or maybe he is hinting at some sort of partnership.
Yeah. I would be too.
I mean, he's the master troller when it comes to like announcing games.
Yeah.
Let's never forget about Rojam Mopam, dude.
Right.
The guy covered in bandages.
I guess I
Moby
will.
Dick Games.
Right. I guess I'll grant him that.
Okay.
I don't know. I've gotten so over his like tactic of it's obvious what he does. Show them something weird and put a bunch of riddles in it, and when Jeff Keighley asks, so what is this game? Tell him nothing. Give him word salad, like word lasagna, and walk off. And everyone will talk about it, and the media will like do its thing.
It's great. They spent 8 minutes saying nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
Meanwhile,
it was Jordan.
Meanwhile, 2/3 of the awards were not allowed to speak a word.
Yeah.
Which Kojima gets 8 to 10 minutes to say nothing on stage.
It's disgusting. And it was just Jordan Peele coming out, complimenting Kojima, telling him what a visionary he is, and then kind of insinuating that he sees himself as, a somewhat equal visionary or on par in some degree.
Right, and they're collaborating.
Right, and they're collaborating. And
apparently Kojima's collaborating with even more famous.
Yeah.
He says he's assembled like the dream team.
Yeah, he wants his own like troupe of like Hollywood A-listers.
Yeah, and he's got them. I mean, I didn't recognize, he really touted the 3 actors that are being featured in this game.
Yeah. That's what he cares about.
Which I had never heard of any of them. It looked like maybe they were like foreign, European or something like that.
Regardless, I don't know. It's Jordan Peele.
I mean, I know Kojima's a really big film buff.
Yeah,
and he's had this obsession with and it all started with replacing David Hayter with Kiefer Sutherland for Metal Gear Solid 5.
Right.
And since then, it's basically just been like
constant.
Like every single character in his game has to be a scan of a famous person,
right?
And whatever character they're playing.
Not what I want to see.
No.
Like it's not at all my priority.
This game could very well be awesome, incredible, amazing, awe-inspiring.
And I'm sure OD is not the final title either.
Apparently internally, because this game leaked. Or like a very early like demo that was privately shown to people. It was known as Overdose.
Oh, okay.
So maybe it's still Overdose.
Right.
But it's supposed to be a scary game. It's supposed to be like a horror game of some kind. Okay. But also, of course, not a horror game because this is a new genre.
Yeah, this is
games.
new. Yeah, all avant-garde. And Kojima. He's a visionary. He's a visionary game designer.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, he is.
He is. I'm not. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just annoying when they rub it in your face.
You gotta be.
It's like if Albert Einstein went around everywhere and said, "I'm the
genius philosopher, genius mathematician."
Albert Einstein.
Yeah, that's just. He is.
Yeah.
But
it's like, do you really gotta be that in people's faces about it?
Right.
Like, I wonder if he feels the need to because he knows about everyone in Hollywood, right?
Right.
But not everyone in Hollywood knows about Hideo Kojima.
True.
So it's like, I mean, he must have some kind of like, there must be some agent he has probably, that connects him.
That's got to be.
And like and sits them down and goes, "Do you want to meet with the world's most famous, most incredible, most well-known, most revered
visionary game designer?"
Whoa, it's this guy? It's like, think about, you would be having a meeting with like
the man,
the greatest mind in video games today.
Yeah,
you know, like, it's like working with the Scorsese of
we're like we're playing out how that happens.
I gotta imagine most of these people, maybe they've heard of Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah. No, I doubt Meryl Streep knows who Kojima is.
Yeah, but I mean, if Kojima wants to work with Meryl Streep,
yeah, it's gonna happen.
He would probably make it happen.
He would make.
He now has enough connections and enough friends.
Yeah, well, I mean, the way actors work and the way you recruit actors is through their agencies, and you know, Kojima, I'm sure.
But here's a little fun fact about Jeff Keighley. Mm-hmm. He's kind of a nepo baby.
Explain
his parents
like nepo baby.
Okay, so it's kind of a joke, but there's this thing where like all of the famous like Hollywood people from, you know, that are like now in their 50s, 60s, 70s now all have these 20-year-old children that are basically taking over and becoming the actors.
Nepotism baby. I see. Okay, gotcha.
So people are quick to label everyone like nepo babies,
right? Because their career just takes off because they're
I mean, they have a huge advantage over probably
100%. I'm not refuting anything.
Yeah. They've probably been in acting lessons their whole entire life.
Yeah, and they got the last name. And
exactly.
Yeah.
All the connections you could hope to have.
100%.
There are your foot in the door every single time.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
But we're not here to talk about those kind of nepo babies. I'm here to talk about Jeff Keighley. His parents are like the founders of like IMAX.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
And basically, when Jeff Keighley in the 90s was getting into E3 and making a name for himself as like a teenager, E3, you weren't allowed to have kids at E3. But because Jeff Keighley's parents were, you know,
you had to be over 18.
Yeah, the IMAX people, well, then Jeff Keighley could get into whatever he wanted.
Right. It's kind of like when, was it, I don't remember if it was Kanye West or Jay-Z, just showed up at E3 and just got in, even though he's not industry.
Right.
Because he's a celebrity.
He's working on a game.
Yeah.
Did you know that Nintendo had a meeting? Shigeru Miyamoto had a meeting with Kanye for Kanye's weird Dream Angel Baby Mother game.
I don't even know about that.
Yeah, and Kanye never... the game never released, but like Miyamoto was asked about it at one point, and he offered some like confusing sentiment. But I guess like Kanye wanted Nintendo to be involved somehow.
Yeah, I've seen that happen too, where celebrities come up with these ideas for games, knowing nothing about game design really.
I mean, he had some like vision and then hired people to make like a
game design document.
Yeah, I mean, it had like some like kind of, there's a trailer of this game.
Okay.
So you can, I don't think it's gameplay. I think it's just sort of like something playing out pre-rendered.
Right.
But it looked interesting. You know, I don't mean to like, I like Jeff Keighley.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
I think, you know, in the wake of, like, especially, we're going to talk about E3 a lot next week, but in the wake of E3's demise, you know, he's the only one that's really trying to rally the industry together to sort of, like, singular tentpole events where, like, we could have that kind of, like, announcement palooza that, you know, we used to have.
Right.
And so I appreciate that. But I almost feel like why it's weird when it's under the guise of an award show.
Yeah. I don't hate Jeff Keighley. I appreciate what he does overall for the industry. Like, you know, he's not, you know, he's not like these CEOs we talk about sometimes.
Right.
You know, he's not Jim Ryan and stuff.
No.
It's not on that level.
He likes games. He plays games. He's a genuine interest. He did, like, real journalism at one point in his career.
Right.
Like, he made documentaries about, like, the making of Half-Life and with Valve a long time ago.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he's...
Yeah, he's done genuine, legitimate work you know, contributing to the games
and
industry.
he's still contributing to the industry.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's just
it's his direction.
Yeah.
Right now.
I mean, the Game Awards are just seemingly getting worse.
Yeah, they're getting a lot worse.
Well, this may be the best announcements we've ever had at a Game Awards.
Yeah, the announcements were good.
Because some years the announcements are not great.
There were some of that.
Where it's shooter game after shooter game after shooter game. And it's like, okay.
There have been past years where the award acceptance situation was a lot better.
Yeah.
But the announcements and world premieres were just forgettable as all hell. But this year the trailers were actually really good. And then we had the disappointment kind of come with just, you know, the rapid fire presentation.
Yeah. It was like, okay, well, what about the
let's
award?
get this award crap out of the way.
So I'm really curious to see how does he overcorrect next year? Does he take any of this to heart?
He does seem like the kind of person who takes what journalists say really seriously.
Yeah.
So
I mean, he always does this thing on Twitter where he like says rate the show, and he like it's a Twitter poll and it's like A, B, C, D, and he doesn't just do it for his own events. He does it for like Nintendo Directs, Xbox showcases, you name it.
Yeah, okay.
So we're kind of all getting like a.
It's weird that he takes that level of interest in what people think about events and stuff, and then goes this far off of you know what people would really want.
Well, you know, I don't know. I hear some people saying, like, I don't care about the awards. I watch for the announcements.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay.
So,
maybe he is just...
Maybe he's hearing more of that from, like, your average person. And
I didn't think anyone would... I guess, there would be people like that.
Yeah, there's some people who do not care about the people that make the games. They just want their games.
Yeah. That's disgusting. That's gross. But when it comes to Hollywood, it's all about the actors.
Yeah, which is interesting.
Yeah,
I mean, and as we see more familiar faces, and as like facial scanning stuff becomes more common, and like celebrities are characters of the games.
Those people are going to overshadow 100% the programmers and the modelers and the game designers.
I mean, and just character designers. They don't have characters to design anymore because they just scan real people now.
Well, you still have to design the character. You still have to design like the character's traits and the person.
Yeah, like what they're wearing, yada yada. But I mean, like, I don't know, like the way people looked was like original. You know, maybe they had inspiration from real people.
Right. I can never ever see facial scanning replacing just being in all games. That'll never happen.
But for games that strive to attain realism, I think that. But I mean, like in artistic games, where like the new Mana game, you know, like that's not going to use facial scanning anytime soon. Hopefully, ever.
I mean, I prefer those games. Like those are the games I actually play.
Yeah.
Games like Death Stranding that really shoot for this, and The Last of Us, that really shoot for this Hollywood presentation. I tend to pass them up.
Yeah.
Not even intentionally. Sometimes just subconsciously.
Yeah. I know. I'm with you. Yeah. I've been, like, especially PlayStation's offerings, I find myself, like, less and less interested in the, like, the really gritty, you know, realistic kind of...
the games are so big and crazy that it's just intimidating.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have time for that. I'm going to go play an indie game.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, I guess that's why indie games exist, because of people,
or a JRPG, or you know, something cute,
even bigger,
something cute.
Gotcha. Okay, so I think that about wraps up our Game Awards discussion.
Yeah.
I went to an event after the Game Award, or the next day after the Game Awards. You were pretty beat.
Yeah, I just couldn't do it. I work nights, so this was just, even being at the Game Awards was extreme. I had to basically be up for 48 hours?
You 24? Worked the night before the Game Awards. Yeah. You didn't sleep during the day. Then we go to the Game Awards. You're awake the whole time.
Yeah.
And then I drop you off at work.
Yeah, that's right. So
you didn't get to sleep until...
At least 36 hours.
Oh, it was like 2 full days.
Yeah 48
then. Sleep, which is insane. So you did not come with me to Day of the Devs.
I intended to, but couldn't.
Yeah. So I went to Day of the Devs, Game Awards edition. So this was specifically kind of done in partnership with the Game Awards. Although never once during the Game Awards did they mention that there was like an indie event happening the next day.
That's kind of weird.
With their name on it.
Yeah.
In person, like
there's no time.
The whole industry is here. You should be telling them, hey,
there's no time.
Come to Day of the Devs tomorrow, over in the Garment District.
We have to listen to Sydney Goodman tell jokes.
Yes, they must give her the worst jokes on purpose, right? Because her jokes were not funny.
Yeah, I think there's supposed to be some meme energy to her or something.
Yeah, like
I don't. By the way, like Sydney Goodman, I'm not crapping on her. She's doing her job.
Yeah, she's reading the teleprompter like she's like she signed up for. She probably is not writing any of the things that she's saying. So yeah, real quick for those that don't know, Sydney Goodman was sort of like Jeff's co-host, you could say. She would pop in from time to time. I think she announced a couple.
She does announce a couple. She's kind of, if it's just Jeff the whole time, like that's just too. They need to have some dynamicness there.
I mean, they're never interacting together.
Not really, no. Except maybe at the tail end or something.
Maybe.
I think I saw them on stage together once.
But, so back to the Day of the Devs. The Day of the Devs is this indie event hosted by, we talked about this the previous week, actually, but it's hosted by I Am 8-Bit and Double Fine Productions. And they had, I want to say it was like 30-some games on display.
What, is it like a convention show floor type setup?
No, it's done in like kind of a trendy warehouse kind of environment.
Oh, okay.
It's like a big kind of open...
Like shabby chic, unfinished art studio kind of thing?
Yeah. I got like the exposed beams and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
It was a nice venue for sure. But no, not like a huge convention floor. But it did have that kind of convention-y sort of energy to it with the demo kiosks everywhere. Mm-hmm. Maybe the thinnest TVs I have ever seen on my life that they used to play these games. Like, I'm not kidding you. It looked like a piece of paper. Like, if you were standing at the right angle, you couldn't even, like, see the TV.
Are you serious?
I am serious.
What?
That I walked out of there being like, wow, that might have been, like, the craziest thing I saw here.
Yeah.
Now, I played a few games.
Forget the games.
The TV they were all using blew me away.
Yeah.
Like, that's some next gen stuff. I don't know what was going on. But there were 3 games in particular that I played. The first of which was Xenotilt, Hostile Pinball Action.
Okay.
Love that name. And this is a sort of a pseudo sequel to that team's previous game, Demon's Tilt, which is, it's like a very, very interactive pinball game. Mm-hmm. And it's got all kinds of crazy effects and particle things going on.
You had talked about this privately.
Yeah. I have a copy of Demon's Tilt, and one of the devs was there. One of the 2 devs that make the game was there, so he signed my copy of Demon's Tilt. But I played the demo, really enjoyed it, gotta grab it. The music in the game, it sounds like it's made by Yuzo Koshiro. It sounds like Streets of Rage, like, style music. Like, it was, like, Genesis sound chip, like, all the way. Like, just a really great vibe. Enjoyed the game a lot. The next 2 games I played are a little more non-traditional.
Okay. I
played a game called Give Me Toilet Paper.
So these are like indie. These are like what we saw, like
some of them
like Indiecade type stuff.
Some of them are like Indiecade-esque.
Okay.
And some of them are, more traditional.
Okay.
But Give Me Toilet Paper, it's a Nintendo Switch game. Mm-hmm. I don't know how they will ever sell this. Because you're basically required to kind of have some of your own props at home in order to make this work.
Okay.
But the idea of the controller setup is that you stick a Joy-Con inside like a roll of toilet paper that hasn't been used yet. Mm-hmm. So it's still like kind of got that seal on it, before you...
right.
unwrap
it's like
the toilet
stuck
paper.
Together still.
Yeah. And then you have like a piece of cardboard that you will roll the toilet paper back and forth on.
Okay.
and the cardboard kind of has like a curvature to it, so it doesn't like go flying off your
So this is a total like science project game.
Kinda. And now the gameplay itself is basically what it is there's this guy at like the bottom of the stage. He's sitting on a toilet, and he's out of toilet paper, and it kind of zooms up above the guy to like a wall where there's like this toilet paper sitting on a platform, and you basically have to roll the toilet paper down like out of this platform maze, where all these obstacles are kind of in your way, like like crazy razors and sharp things, and you have to like get it to the guy at the bottom of the stage, and then he grabs the toilet paper when it falls close enough to him, and he's like, thanks. And there was like, I only played a handful of the stages, but it looked like there was like 100 stages at least.
That's crazy.
And they got like progressively like more and more weird and out there.
That's the kind of stuff that there's really not any potential of selling big numbers, but you love to see it. Yeah. Like, because there's the creativity of the developer.
I feel like next year, if you're in the same situation you were this year, where you have to work the night of the Game Awards, I say... And they're doing the Day of the Devs the day after the Game Awards again.
I would have preferred to go to the Day of the Devs even this year.
Yeah, I mean, had we known how it ended up being, I think you should prioritize going to Day of the Devs next year. I think you would have had a lot more of an interesting time. Would have exposed you to all kinds of cool ideas. Anyway, so Give Me Toilet Paper. I thought that was really cool, kind of a novelty.
But we've seen this before at like Indiecade,
butt sniffing pugs.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that, I don't know, this was more fun to me. This was more
this is more of a game.
Yeah, this felt like more of a game. Like, I really liked Give Me Toilet Paper. I will put my kit together if this ever releases, or I don't know if it's just meant to be sort of a tech demo, but if they ever release this, I will buy it, and I will support Give Me Toilet Paper. The other game I spent a significant amount of time with is called Home Safety Hotline. And I think there was a trailer for this during the Game Awards or at the Day of the Dev showcase a couple days earlier. And this game, you are essentially a customer service agent for like a home safety company. And you clock in. First, you sit down at like a computer, and it's got this very like 1990s-esque like Windows 95 kind of look to it.
Right.
And you double click on the icon to open up the program. You're like working remotely, and you clock in, and then you get calls, and people are like, "Hey, I got this problem. Blah 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 blah. What do you think it is?" And then you have this sort of database that you have to read through while you put the person on hold. And you have to figure out, based on the information they gave you and the information you're reading, what kind of like pest or insect or whatever that they're dealing with. And the goal is to try to get like 100% like correct on like all of these. And then you you clock out, and then like the next day comes and you sign in again. But then things start getting weird. Like, they're like, oh, we unlocked some new entries for you, and now there's like on day 2 there's like entries about like weird like mold creatures, and like strange gnomes and goblins and like different like things like that. And then you start getting weird calls where people are upset with you from the day before, where they're like, you gave me the wrong information and now this happened to me, and then they like hang up on you.
What was the title again?
Home Safety Hotline.
Okay.
It's actually going to be releasing early next year. They don't have an exact release date because they're worried if they announce a release date that some like big game will come out. So they're like really trying to, but the game is basically done. They're just polishing it up.
Okay.
So I think I played through like 3 or they let me have a pretty extensive demo. Like, I was there for a good 20-25 minutes.
Are any of these, do you see them, just in your opinion, do you see any of these being like physical releases, like limited, like East Asia Soft type releases?
A Home Safety Hotline, I mean, it's definitely built for PCs.
Okay.
It's not like it's not impossible to make it work on a Switch, but it's like, you're moving a mouse cursor around.
Okay.
So you'd basically have to be using the sticks.
Right.
I could see Home Safety Hotline definitely getting a physical release at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's only console or only PC at first. And then maybe depending on the success and interest, they'll consider porting it to Xbox, PlayStation, Switch.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that I got into. I really got immersed in the I'm a 1990s call center employee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you've had experience working.
Yeah,
So I wonder if that might be something.
Home mortgage. I've thought about making a game about doing that. I haven't. I did actually play a Flash game that was you at a call center. It was on Newgrounds or something. Okay. I don't remember what it was, but
have you heard of Creepypasta?
Yeah.
It's kind of got that sort of weird creepy vibe, and when it shows you an image of the little encyclopedia entry or the little data entry you're reading about,
mm-hmm.
The image is usually really grainy and blurry and unsettling.
It's some I in my head I'm envisioning what you're talking about. It's some confined creature or something like that.
Or there was one thing where it was pipe lumps, and it's it just shows this pipe with these boils on it, and then the description is really strange and but it's it's almost just assuming oh, this is normal,
Yeah.
And then as you get more entries unlocked, it becomes harder to kind of deduce what the
creature is,
or what the problem is that the customer is experiencing, because
mm-hmm.
now you have way more things, and it looked like there must have been at least there were a bunch of options that I couldn't even see yet. Mm-hmm. And it looked like there must have been 100 different things by the time you finally get to the end. And I'm sure the game probably starts to go off the rails at some point.
Yeah.
And venture outside of, just the call in, and probably you're communicating with people and there's a whole crisis. And
yeah,
that's the kind of feeling a
story opens up into something.
Exactly.
Big.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I don't know. That's something I could have kept playing that, because the lady was you can keep going, but I kept hearing people coming up and asking her about it, and she was telling me, I was I'm sure these people want to play, so
yeah,
let me give them a chance. So those are the 3 games I played. There were a lot of games there. And
I like those kind of environments because you can walk right up to the actual developer.
Yeah.
The actual game designer.
Yeah, 99% of the demo. There were a couple demos that you could tell were being helmed by someone not involved with the game. Mm-hmm. Just sort of an event, sort of someone watching. Give Me Toilet Paper did not have the dev there.
Oh, okay.
That one was just it was almost unattended.
Was that a team that did that?
It's an individual. Okay. It had a single person's name attached to it. It was a Japanese developer.
Solo dev.
And then I Am 8-Bit, which used to have a storefront a long time ago.
Yeah.
During the pandemic they closed, but they had a little pop-up shop at Day of the Devs, and I found a really rare copy, something they only made 1,000 of, a special variant version of the Psychonauts PS4 port.
Yeah.
And I was able to pick up 2 copies, so we could each get one. And they were selling these for $30.
What is the variant?
The cover.
Okay.
The cover artwork
Gotcha.
was only sold by I Am 8-Bit. It is a release in partnership with Limited Run.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this was maybe before... no, I Am 8-Bit was already doing their own physical releases, but this particular artwork is only available, only 1,000 made. I guess they must have not sold everything online and saved some for events.
Mm-hmm.
But these go for $100 on eBay, so I was shocked to see it at a normal price.
Yeah.
So I was I gotta grab this. Unfortunately, let me. I noticed some notable industry people there at the event. Unfortunately, Double Fine's president,
Tim Schafer,
and Creative Mind, Tim Schafer, was not in attendance.
So,
there was at one point where the person who was seemingly running the show did get on mic and kind of welcomed everyone. It was an hour into the show already, though. Mm-hmm. And he mentioned that Tim unfortunately couldn't make it. And I was
do you feel like that was a one-off, or do you think he just doesn't come to these.
No, he does come to them.
Okay.
I mean, I know he goes to the main one in San Francisco. I mean, it's close to work. But I know he's come to I've seen him at the Game Awards multiple times. So I guess he just didn't make it down this year for whatever reason.
Gotcha.
But so who was running the show is Greg Rice, who's the global head of PlayStation Indies. I guess he does it in partnership with Tim at Double Fine. He used to be a Double Fine employee, so it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
I also saw Shuhei Yoshida, who's the head of Independent Developer Initiative at Sony.
He was there?
He was there too, just walking around playing games. Yeah,
that's crazy that he's there.
Yeah, that's his job now. Is
just recruiting indies. Yeah.
And I saw former Nintendo marketing executives / employees, Kit and Krista, who are now podcasters. They have a show. Oh my god, the name is escaped. The Kit and Krista
Dude,
podcast.
I'm really jealous that I wasn't there for that.
Yeah. But the one that blew me away was Jonathan Blow was there.
Oh,
the creator of Braid.
That doesn't
and
surprise. I mean, this sounds like his kind of environment.
It is. Now he's kind of notorious for being.
Yeah,
he's not always well liked. He says whatever's on his mind.
Yeah, he always acts the way he wants to feel too.
Yeah. He's an interesting guy.
Yeah.
But I don't know if respected's the right word.
No, that's not.
But he's made some big games.
Well credentialed.
Yeah. I mean, he's made 2 games.
Yeah, 2 games. Well, The Witness.
Yeah.
Is that where you
Braid and The Witness.
Yeah, okay.
Those are like his 2 my games.
Big.
He's worked on some other games, but those are the 2 games that are his. He's doing a remake of Braid right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like from the ground up remake. Which is kind of funny. You wouldn't think
was Phil Fish with him?
No, I didn't see Phil Fish. But it made me realize that Braid or The Witness has never released physically. Because I was like, oh my god, Jonathan Blow is here. And I started looking like, do physical copies even exist of his games? And no, they don't.
I wouldn't be... I mean, I don't want to speak for the guy, but I wouldn't be shocked if he supports digital.
I found an interview where he was talking about wanting to do something for The Witness, but it was like while he was still developing it. He was like, "Oh, I'm not thinking about that right now, but after the game releases." But I guess it never happened.
Yeah.
Because I remember he was at the very first PlayStation experience in Vegas, showing off The Witness. They had like a huge demo area for it.
It's crazy because that game was pretty much for all intents and purposes a walking sim.
Yeah, just puzzles.
It's famous because it's him.
Right. I mean, the puzzles I've heard are very good.
Yeah.
The game.
It's not the most brain dead walking sim.
No, you gotta if you're gonna play this game 100% by yourself, you're gonna be racking your brain. Trying to do it, but you'll feel like a genius when you figure things out.
There's a lot of looking around and a lot of just seeing or sightseeing, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of not quite Myst, but it had kind of that quiet, solemn.
Yeah,
sort of
it's
wandering.
Not an action game.
Yeah,
not at all.
And that's pretty much it for my experience at Day of the Devs. We're at 2.5 hours. We had some news we want to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
But
we always do.
I think we're going to leave that for next week. So thanks for coming back. Welcome back, Rick.
Yep, I'm glad to be back.
And we're going to call it a day.
And transmission.